And then if I just don't tell you that I've started recording, then you won't know. And then it'll switch to me because I'm talking into my microphone and you're not. Come on, buddy. Come on, switch. Yeah, there we go. And then you'll never be seen again in the entire podcast.
It focuses on the beauty. My light's not on. See, this is what happens.
Well, I mean, we're a train wreck this morning, aren't we? Let's go back to auto switching because now we're looking at an empty screen. There we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Oddcast. So I received an email complaint.
What? About?
Apparently, we take too long
To get...
to get going.
Someone formally wrote you an email.
Someone wrote me an email to express gratitude for the podcast. They enjoy it. But dissatisfaction with the amount of time that we spend having fun. Well, they didn't use that expression, but that's my expression. Before we got to the serious stuff. And I haven't replied. I probably won't, to be honest.
This is your reply.
But if you watch the Oddcast, this is your reply. Fast forward.
Yeah.
Bad luck. We do what we like because we like it that way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we don't change for nobody.
I find it really funny how everyone's an expert,
Yeah,
yet
everyone's got an
none of these
opinion.
people have a YouTube channel or a podcast or have ever been in media. But God, they're good at telling you what we should be doing.
Yeah, I developed this philosophy when I was doing all the protests against COVID and lockdowns and everything else because people would be commenting in my live streams telling me what I should do in my live streams. And so I just started to point, and I could see the comments scrolling as I was holding my phone and live streaming. And I would just start to point blank, just tell people, come and tell me. You got advice for me? Whisper it in my ear. Come and join me on this street in front of the police and with all of what's going on and give me your advice in my ear. If you're sitting comfortably at home on a couch typing what you think I should do, forgive me if I don't take you terribly seriously.
Is it you that's attacking the audience today and it's not me?
No. That was my audience from back then. I was just providing feedback.
Okay.
So bad luck. We do what we like.
I do read the comments on our things, and I've mentioned this before, but gosh, people can be harsh.
Yeah, and there's that thing of it feels like they're not being as personal. To them, it feels that way because they're just typing on a computer. There's that insulation between. But for the person on the receiving end, it doesn't necessarily come off that way. And, Abby Chatfield, great example of that. We talked about that her on Sunday. Someone who just had never developed that thick skin.
Are we doing the whole super close to our face thing today?
I think we need to because you were saying that people keep having a whinge about the audio level.
Well, yeah, I manually turn it up when I edit, and I don't have time to edit today, so this has to be perfect to go.
I see. We've got to get this right in camera. Oh dear, goodness,
Yes.
the pressure.
The pressure.
The pressure.
Speaking of pressure, do you have any idea how many things
Under
I
pressure,
have to go through
Pushing
today?
down on me.
No, we're not singing. Then we will have no audience. I draw the line, theatre kid.
Wow.
Next minute he'll be like, and all
I have my hat and my cane in the car.
Do you have a cane?
Well, no, I don't. But I was about to make it. I was about to make a 12th man joke, Mahatma Kot. For anyone that's old enough to know what I'm talking about, there, props to you. You've probably got sore hips.
MARVELLOUS. Marvelous.
Somebody, please rescue me.
You know what I'm singing?
The non-theatre kid is trying to do musical theatre live on the internet, and it's scary.
I just remember that song, and I can still spell marvelous because of it.
Because of it, yeah.
That was a great song for a dyslexic kid.
Well, yep. It's just how often do you need that word?
BANANAS.
Oh no!
Any song where they spell out the word, I'm like,
me.
great. Do you know? This is a thing that people don't realize because someone pulled me up. I'd made a thumbnail for the part where we talk about getting our pilot's license.
Oh, yeah.
I was today years old when I discovered that there's 2 ways of spelling license. I did not know that.
So almost every word that has an SE or a CE on the end, it'll be CE in England and Australia and SE in America.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, someone said something about a noun and a verb, and license with an SE was something, and then CE. I don't know that.
I think you'll find that that's just American English versus English English.
Is it?
It's like how everything in English has a U in it, OUS.
Right.
Whereas color is COLOUR. Whereas in America they got rid of the U.
Yeah.
And that's what the British said to them. What are you doing? You're getting rid of all this. So they're just saying, well, we're just getting rid of you.
Well, do you know what's interesting is I grew up in the American school system. So I grew up spelling things with Zs without U's.
Yes.
And, other different...
So you grew up disabled.
Well, I started from behind the post. I'm dyslexic and I grew up the American school system.
Yeah.
My spelling, it's getting better because I pay for Grammarly on my
It's
computer.
getting better because I get the computer to do it for me. Mm.
Well, yeah. Well, it just reminds me of things. I can kind of figure it out, but G will tell, I'll say, how do I spell this? And he'll tell me, I'll be like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
I've learnt to spell yacht. But every time I spell it out, I'm like...
Yacht.
Why is there a T on the end? This, and I'm literal. So if someone says to me...
Yak.
If someone says to me, I after E except after C or whatever it is.
I before E except after C. But there are so many exceptions.
That's what I mean. I take that to heart. I'm like, no, I'm spelling it correctly. And you don't put a comma before an and then different systems will be like, you need to put a comma here.
No, the problem is that English is the bastard child of all the real languages.
Latin.
So Latin only provided part of our it provided alphabet, but not even our numerals. They're Arabic, and then most of our language is this amalgam of different influences that have come in, and so some words follow French rules, and other words follow Latin rules, and other words follow other rules entirely.
And people blame me for spelling things wrong.
So I knew it was bad, but I didn't know how bad it was until someone, I can't remember what country they were from, but they were not a native English speaker. They made the point to me that they don't have spelling competitions, spelling bees in their home country. And I said, why? Spelling not that important? Why don't you have spelling bees? Because every single word sounds the way that it's spelt. There's no confusion. If you can say the word, you can spell the word.
Yeah.
There is no need to test somebody's spelling. If they can articulate it, they know how it's spelt. And apparently that's quite common in a lot of languages. And it's just like English and a couple of other languages that are these bastard children of all the other languages that have all the confusion.
Because I'm very visual, I've taught myself to remember how things work. What are you breaking?
Yes, I'm breaking the set.
But I normally have a way of saying things in my head so I can spell them correctly. So Wednesday, bussiness, vehicle,
Rendezvous.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's funny, I can spell really complicated words, but then simple words, I always get them stuffed up. Anyway, enough about me.
Speaking of words.
Word of the day. Do you want to pick or should I?
Look, I had fun last week. Let's go.
We apparently said it wrong.
Say when.
When?
All right. Sagacity. No, we've had sagacious already with the sagacious gap. Salacious.
I know that word, though.
Okay. Salient.
No, I know that word too.
Salubrious.
That's a good one.
Salubrious. Favourable to one's health.
Salubrious.
After father's asthma reasserted itself, the family began to spend more time at its Arizona compound due to the area's dry weather, which is salubrious towards asthmatics.
That's a ridiculous sentence. But
it is a ridiculous way to illustrate a word. Salubrious, favourable to one's health.
So you could not say that the mRNA jab was salubrious?
No, but I will say that the UN doyen that came out, not doyen, he's male, what's his name, Simon Stiel, who came out recently, and we saw all the headlines talking about how apparently we're all going to have a carnivore diet, which is salubrious to our health. And he didn't put it in those words. What he said actually was that we're only going to eat fruit and veg once a year. That's what he said. But to me, I'm just hearing carnivore diet.
Yeah.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. I don't see the downside.
I don't see the problem here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think it's gotten to the point with, and I have so many videos lined up. If you could see, I will show you. I will show you the tabs. Look at all those tabs. They're all the things we've got to get through today.
Oh, goodness.
So I have gone and found some interesting videos, and G said, please don't play any more crazy leftard videos.
Okay.
So I'm going to play a few.
So you got some crazy, of course.
Sorry,
you
G. I love you. But what I wanted to illustrate is I think we're past peak woke, but what we're seeing is the last throes of a dying animal with woke.
Oh, yeah. And
it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, no, I'll wait. I'll do the show as per, good news.
We'll do it as planned. Do you have any good news, Carly?
Yeah. I kind of went through it last week, but we're moving.
Yes.
And it's official.
And you're going to be getting out of Victoria. That's the only thing that's certain is you're getting out of Victoria. So that's wonderful good news.
And weirdly, I feel elated and like a spring chicken. I just feel excited.
I moved out of Melbourne, out of Australia.
Out of Australia.
I can't even find halfway in between those two things. In between Melbourne and Australia, there's a thing called Victoria. I moved out of that 2 and a bit years ago, 2.5 years ago.
You guys worry about me.
And it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
It really has.
Do you feel weird coming across the state line and into Victoria? Do you go...
Not,
is it like a little cloud?
Well, see, I live on a hill and I can see Victoria from my house. I think I've said this to you before. It's like that Lion King thing.
Yeah.
Like, what about the Shadowlands? That's Victoria. We don't go there. So I look, I'm okay with it, but I got to tell you that sense of no longer living in Victoria was a really wonderful and liberating feeling when it, particularly when it was fresh, when it was new. My good news is that you guys aren't going to be moving anywhere near me. So that was a relief. It
was the Huntsmans that did it for me.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Move to Albury. There's Huntsmans everywhere.
And yet you're going to move further north.
Yeah, but
have you seen the size of the bugs? They get bigger as you go further
there's
north.
snakes, and the snakes will eat them.
And you?
Yeah, no, I'm not afraid of danger noodles. G is. I'm not.
Okay, so who cares? Screw G, right? I mean, who cares about him?
No, I will protect him. He will protect me from the giant golden orb spiders. But where we're going, I think it's relatively... It's not as bad. I think further north it gets worse. At least there's no crocs where we're going.
Yeah, okay. Well, my good news is that I now am in future going to be taking holidays.
Oh.
And that sounds
This is
strange.
a foreign concept.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It actually is. So I started full-time doing what I'm doing now, the Topher project, at the start of this year.
Yep.
And things were going okay. It took me a little while to find my feet, figure out, again, we've talked about this before, taking what I love and not losing the integrity of what I'm about, but then packaging it in the way that people want to consume it so that, you find an audience, blah, blah, blah. It took me a few months. And as I was finding my feet, we then reached the first term school holidays and all my numbers collapsed. All my viewers, everything else just all disappeared. And I sat there going, is this me? Does my content suck? Have I done something wrong here? And then after holidays finished, all the numbers bounced back and I've been growing and getting, going further since then. Well, we just finished another round of school holidays. And once again, my numbers collapsed during the school holidays. My theory is that during the school holidays, the kids commandeer the screens. So if I was doing like kids entertainment YouTubing, I'd probably love school holidays. It'd be a great time for me.
You won't be able to soon with the band coming in.
Well, yes, that's something we've got to talk about. So what that has done, though, because my numbers have bounced back since the holidays finished, what it's done is confirmed that it is the school holidays. That's what's doing it. Which means that actually I'm now sitting there going, well, I can actually just go, you know what, screw this. School holidays are a really tough time to be a content creator. I'm just going to actually take holidays.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
This is interesting.
Yeah. So I'll let you know what it's like because I know you don't know. You haven't had a holiday in a long time either. So
what is a holiday?
Yeah, I'll let you know what it's like when I get there.
Do you know what? I've traveled a lot, but the whole time I've traveled, I've had a business. So I've always had the laptop, always had the camera.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, like it's not exactly hard work by the pool, but
and this is why I call it traveling rather than holidays. I love traveling.
Yeah.
Whether or not I'm still working actually is secondary. I just love traveling, the change of scenery, the process, the journey itself.
Yep.
I actually don't mind airports.
Yeah. I don't mind airports either.
I don't mind long journeys looking out a window. I don't mind long plane trips.
Yeah.
With kids is more challenging, of course, but I don't mind the journey, the traveling. But yeah, holidays, traveling without work. That's
it's a foreign
strange.
concept to me.
Yeah.
Even when I was in Iceland after we did ARC,
Yeah.
I had my camera, I was still on the laptop.
And you were there to get photos. You were working.
That was my job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm excited about moving up north for? Obviously, it's a change of scenery for me. I've lived in Melbourne most of my adult life. I've been to Queensland plenty of times.
Sure.
But, just even because, this is all I know, right? So I don't ever get the drone out or anything because I'm like, I've seen that tree a billion times.
Yeah.
I was thinking, because we were looking at, where we're going to live and where we're going, all that sort of stuff. The amount of things, I'm like, what my drone up there?
Yeah.
And I'll go there and do this shoot. And then I'll go there and take that photo. And then I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
I haven't felt like that in forever.
And a change is as good as a holiday.
Yeah.
That's what they say. And so a change is good for that. What I'm finding with Albury is a different expression of the same phenomenon where I suddenly want to start enjoying outdoor life because being a smaller city, there is actually a lot more opportunity. And, we've got the river right there. I don't really like the Yarra. I don't love the Murray, to be honest, either, but it is at least a decent width. It is a more interesting river.
Yeah.
I've been canoeing down the Murray 3 times since we moved up there.
Yep.
I'm planning in the not too distant future in the next 2-3 years to just get a couple of small canoes, me and the kids, and you know, we can head out there on hot summer days. There's a riverside cafe that's quite popular. There's a playground there and so forth. And if you sit there, you will, over the course of an hour, you'll see a couple of hundred people just come floating down the river on floaties, on lilos, on inflatable mattresses, who knows what, some of them in canoes. And they'll just come floating down the river, and then you'll see them walking behind you because there's a spot they'll get out, pick up whatever it was they had, and they'll go walking across this kind of peninsula and get back in and then go floating around the end of it again. And just hundreds of people just going by, plus all the mountain biking and everything else. I'm just finding myself going, now that I'm out of the suburban sprawl and out of all of that.
Melbourne's not really conducive. I shouldn't say that. It is to a degree. Like when I lived down Torquay Way and stuff, I loved the beach. Yeah. But I think I'm just either getting older, but I don't love being cold all the time.
Yeah, and the whole I love the beach until I get stabbed kind of vibe changes things a little bit.
That's the biggest thing too. So I mean, I loved surfing down Torquay, but I stopped surfing because I just get really cold extremities. Yeah. So I'm a fair weather surfer for sure. And then when I went to Hawaii and I went surfing there, I was out there for the whole day and I was like, this is a totally different thing. And I got very sunburned. Yeah. But I was like, oh, okay, I see why people really love surfing. When it's warm, it's different. Yeah. So I'm hoping to get back into surfing when I'm up north. But also down here in Melbourne, we moved from, I was in Hampton, we've moved down further Bayside and I don't go, I'm normally at the beach nearly every single day, at least for a morning dip. Not necessarily for a long period of time, but 15, 20 minutes. Jump in, jump out. And I didn't go once because all along Seaford, Chelsea, Mordialloc, all the way up to Mentone, all the way up to Blackrock and Beaumaris were knife crime, kids coming in from Dandenong, from Cranbourne and just causing chaos. And I just don't want to be there. Yep. Nothing particularly happened when I was there, but I don't want to be there if something did.
So the first 4 years of my married life, I lived in Dandenong and I was the one sending them all up your way. It's just like, hey guys, you live here. Don't shit in your own backyard. Don't stab people here. Go and stab people somewhere else. So you're welcome.
So that's what I'm excited about. And with Noosa, Sunny Coast and all that area, there's just so much different variation between the coastland, Goldie, Brisbane, Sunny Coast.
I can't get over the fact with Port Phillip Bay that the amount of water that actually gets transferred with each tide relative to the overall volume is very small. It takes a very, very long time for that water to get exchanged. And we have sewage plants that discharge into the bay, not to mention all the other sort of stuff that ends up in there. Yeah, I just psychologically, it's not the place where I want to go and just, get wet. No.
Sorry
thanks.
To all the Melburnians. Now that we're talking we don't live here.
Snooty.
I still live here. I don't think I'll come back.
I have no intention of ever moving back into Victoria. People said to me, once you get out of the big cities into a smaller region, you'll wonder why you didn't do it years earlier. And that's exactly what's happened for me.
It's funny you say that because I have lived in small, I went to Warrnambool for uni and I was there for 4 years. I lived in Geelong for 7 years. Yep. And then during COVID, I was down Torquay Way for 2 years. Yep. So I have lived smaller areas. But the pool that I'm looking for is I'm a real outdoorsy, get up and go kind of person. Yep. And I just don't feel like we have that down here, particularly when it's cold. We do when it's warm.
During winter, but it also depends on where you live. There are parts of Melbourne where you do have good access to the outdoors and you're not 45 minutes in the car just to get to a mountain biking trail. Yeah. There are parts of Melbourne where you do have a lot of amenity. But a lot of it now, the sprawl, it's similar with Sydney. I've said for a long time, Sydney's nice if you're rich enough to live by the water. Yeah. The minute you're in the anonymous western suburbs sprawl, it's really, it might as well be in LA.
One of my close friends lives in Bondi and just going to Bondi, I've never understood Bondi's appeal. No. I don't get it. And when it's hot, they talk about the whole Coogee Bondi walk and it's just like rocks and they're sunbaking on rocks. I don't get it. I don't think I'm meant to get it. But how they always say, Sydney's got better beaches than Melbourne. Well, yeah, if you're after surf. But if you want good surf, Melbourne has way better. Anyway. Yeah. I don't want either. I was in Sydney a couple of weeks ago and I was like.
Yeah, no.
Do you know how dead Oxford Street
is? It's horrific, yeah.
It's a ghost town. I think I've already said that, haven't I?
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago.
Anyway.
All right, let's get to today's topics.
Okay, so good news around the world.
Before I get another angry email.
Oh. Yeah. Good news around the world. Are you familiar with what the T app is?
Yes, I am. And I meant to send you a link on this because I thought, given your experiences with Tattle Life,
I'm all over it.
This would tickle your fancy.
It was brilliant. Okay, so to set the scene for you guys, T was a platform that it was built for a good reason.
Sure.
So a guy built it basically for his mum. She was getting back into the dating pool and she'd been catfished and stood up and had some terrible experiences. So we wanted to make a little platform where women could share their experiences and be able to vet each other's potential dates. Like, don't go him, he's bad, whatever.
Yeah.
And obviously things go to hell. As they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yep.
And over 1 million people or more signed up for it. And he vetted people so that he could prove that they were women. So they had to upload a selfie as well as a government-issued license or ID.
ID, yeah.
So the website the app stored all that data. And these women, it just descended into full Lord of the Flies.
Full toxicity.
Just horrendous.
Yeah.
So it's Tattle Life, but about men. So women were on there talking about, don't date him, he looks like an incel, or he looks like this, and just baseless lies.
Yeah.
To the point where they would be like,
up.
oh, we should contact his mum and let her know that he's a piece of shit. And as
my understanding is there are instances where people have just literally fabricated crimes and accusing people of crimes, not to their face, but to other people in their life, and saying, "Oh, that person's done these things."
And that's exactly what they do on Tattle Life. They they get little bits of stories, and because they don't have the context, they fill the holes in themselves, and then they fabricate this story. And like any screenshot can be twisted however you want it.
Sure,
you can deliberately cut bits of it out. You can just
just apply your own lens to exactly what was going on in that moment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that happened to me during COVID. I'll talk about that later, but. So what has happened is like these guys have had a lot of issues in their actual lives because of these women, and they couldn't go on there to look at it because you can't get on it.
Yeah.
So 4chan decided to get behind it and hack it and leaked all the user data.
Well, it turns out it was not difficul to hack. Nothing was encrypted. Nothing was protected.
It wasn't really a hack. It was just like a login.
Yeah, it was just like what do you think his login details are? Have you tried password? I'll give it a go.
Have you tried password 123?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, can we be a bit cheeky? Can we have a bit of a laugh at people's expense? Are we allowed to do that?
Yeah, please do. But what I couldn't help but notice because I saw screenshots filled with these the selfies that these people had uploaded.
Well, that's what I've got here.
These are not people with a great deal of self-respect.
So
in their selfie-taking life.
The issue is you always get criticism from people below you. You never get criticism for people who are doing better than you. And it's always from people in the cheap seats who are uninvested.
And for those that might be questioning that thing, you always get criticism from people below you. I've never had someone with a larger social media following than mine try to shit on me.
I have, Clem Ford.
Well, yeah. But that's a slightly different thing. I've had lots of people be very encouraging, have a lot of time for me. I've had some of them have no time for me, but they don't shit on me.
No.
The people that shit on me are the people with 33 friends on Facebook, and they want to tell me that they know better than I do on X, Y, or Z.
Like they do on the podcast.
Well, like they do on the podcast. But they want to tell me what I should be doing, the topic I should be covering, or whatever it may be.
Or that you're not educated enough, or you don't know the full story. Yeah, there's always that kind of criticism.
Yeah, so it's always the people, you're exactly right, it's the people that are jealous of you that will give you the hardest time.
Even with this podcast, people who I would consider friends don't listen to it, never talk about it, never ask me about it.
Well, they might just not be interested. Let's be honest. It's not like everyone is obliged just because they know you.
No, but you definitely notice when you start something new and it starts to take up and there's not a huge amount of support behind it, then all of a sudden people are like, you've changed.
Yeah.
Which you've already started to get.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the story. So these are some of the selfies that were uploaded. And look, yes, we're going to make fun of how some people look. But my issue with this is these are women who want a guy who's 6 foot, who's 6 figures, who's got as you said, a large...
Yeah, 6 inches. Yeah.
Yep. I was going to say something. I was like, don't be
6
crap.
by 6 by 6. Yeah.
Yeah. And, they're expecting the man to open the door for them, but at the same time, be empathetic. And their idea of a man is detached from reality.
Yeah.
And when you look at these women who are, sitting there trolling these online forums and writing all these things, well, honey, have you looked in the mirror? So these are some of the users. And
that's a solid 1.5 out of 10.
Look, it's easy to be mean, and I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just like, this is the woman who's telling you if you don't have a 6-pack, like you're a piece of shit.
And I just want to make the point. This person decided that was the selfie they wanted to upload.
Yeah. This one looks like she complains to the manager all the time.
All the time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But this is the thing. If you're going to criticize people, well, don't expect you're not going to get criticized back. And the reaction from women to this hack has been exactly as you expected.
Yeah.
Women can't even have safe spaces on the internet. Women can't do this. I'm like, no. What you want is
talk to Catherine Deeves about safe spaces for women. See. Yeah.
You want double standards. You want to be able to sit there and pull men apart. So what they've done is they've created another app where they've uploaded all all the selfies and you rate the selfies.
Oh, no.
So left versus right. No. Who's hotter? I just think this is the best retribution. We're mocking you now and you deserve it. So there's all these photos of all the women and there seems to be a bit of a theme.
Yeah. Well, look,
I'll let you guys decide what the theme is.
We can't notice it. That would be wrong.
No, I
for
won't
us to
say,
notice what's
but
before our very eyes.
These are the women telling us how she just looks.
Yeah. Now, if you're listening to the podcast right now and you're like, "Hey guys, this is a bit unfair," just know that these people look exactly the way that you're imagining.
Exactly the way.
The thing that you have in your head, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to contrast, like Marie Claire, Elle magazine, women magazines are coming out saying, the hack proved that an app like this is needed. Women aren't safe.
Yeah, blah, blah. Yep.
Yeah, it's just like complete lack of self-awareness.
So can I make a comment though? Because I know someone who's in the dating pool and she's found a 6 foot tall, 6-figure person and is like going through him with a fine-tooth comb.
Trying to find the flaws.
And I'm sitting here going, take a look at yourself. Now, lovely human being.
Yeah.
Perfectly successful in their own right, etc. But, they're in the 40-year age bracket dating pool, right? With history, as everyone has at that age, okay?
Kids?
No. But I'm looking at it going, this is what feminism has done to women.
Yeah.
When feminism said you can have it all, some people actually believed that.
Yeah.
And they lost connection with the reality that they don't offer it all. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, but if you don't offer it all, then you can't have it all.
G and I were literally talking about this last night because we were coming up with what to talk about on the podcast.
Yeah.
And so G and I met on Bumble.
Right.
And I had been on and off dating apps for years and not had any success.
Yeah.
And I'd met some nice guys, but just didn't work out for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I'd met some absolute dickheads. But for the most part, like everyone, it only works, it needs to work once, right? And same with G, he'd been on and off it. And both of us had been single for a really long time. He had a brief relationship prior to me. But the one thing that I was looking for was just someone who could communicate well.
Sure.
Everything else was like, oh, we'll figure that out later.
Yep.
And the same thing with him. He was looking for someone that's not going to tell him that, their pronouns are blah, 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 and, it wasn't woke. But interestingly, what women want, this whole 666 whatever, they don't bring anything to the table.
Correct.
These women aren't going out and improving themselves and, no guy really needs a financially stable woman. Like there's exceptions, sure, but for the most part.
And this is the lie that feminism has basically sold to women that says the most attractive thing that you can do, if you want a man, the most attractive thing you can do is be as manlike as possible.
Yes.
Make the money, have the career, be successful, be a sports star, all these things.
Yeah.
Sorry, and then as you've talked about before, they still want to date up. So they achieve all that success and now they want to date up to someone who's even more successful. Guess what? If you are a genuinely successful 6-7 figure man, the least valuable thing that a potential mate can bring into your life is money, success.
Not only that, like if a man's truly successful and has all those things and money and whatnot, why would he date a pain in the ass? He doesn't need to. He can date, like it might be a young woman. I don't think it's necessarily the age. It's more so men are dating someone who hasn't got all the baggage, who hasn't got all these scars and wounds and trauma dumping on them.
But it also doesn't have to be as negative as that, as, they don't need to put up with your crap. No. Just stop and actually look at the value proposition. If someone is a tremendously successful human being, male or female, and they never have to worry about money again, they've got that covered. What they want is closeness, connection, respect, appreciation, someone that's going to make their life on a day-to-day, moment-by-moment basis nicer. They live in a high-performance world. If they're earning a lot of money, then they live in a high-performance world. They're pushing themselves every single day. They need a safe place that they can come to that's warm and soft for them.
Well, not only that, you think about Hollywood actors who date each other and then they break up because there's scheduling conflicts.
Yeah.
Like if you're a successful person and then you've got someone else who's successful and you guys can't even sit down at the dinner table at least once a week because, you've got this meeting and they've got to go there for travel.
Yeah.
You can't have a relationship.
Yeah, correct. And people will say, oh, you're just wanting a PA. You just want this. No, I want a home.
Yeah.
And if I'm already the successful one, well, you'd better come to me saying I can make you a home.
Mm-hmm.
I can make you a place to come back to that's warm and that's soft and it's a place that you look forward to coming back to every day after having gone out and done whatever it is that you do. The least valuable thing that you can offer, the man of these women's dreams, the least valuable thing to that man is your own career and financial success.
Yeah.
And yet that's the thing that they're obsessing about and pushing hard for and sacrificing, thinking that that's then going to lead to them being able to snag these men, and it won't.
Well, not only that, there's expectations that men will behave a certain way. So they want a man that, doesn't like Donald Trump, that is left-leaning, progressive, all this sort of stuff. But then they still want the chivalry.
Yeah.
You better open the door. You better pay for dinner.
Yeah.
What are you bringing to the table?
And if there's a bump in the night, by the way, ladies, who would you rather, a MAGA buffhead or a soy boy?
Yeah. Well, interestingly,
honestly,
I found this today. I thought this ties into what we're talking about. So this is a journalist for the Daily Mail, and I'll play it.
I went undercover as a MAGA girl boss on Bumble and Hinge. This is what happened. I'm Alexis Semino, reporter at Daily Mail. I sent the message, hi, I'm MAGA, with guys I matched with to see their reactions, and I was pretty surprised to see that the men who claimed to be liberal weren't phased at all. Unlike my colleague Will, who got little to no responses, my inbox blew up. My matches fell into the following 5 categories. 1, guys who were unapologetically MAGA and way too hyped about it. 2, men who didn't care about my political affiliation, they just wanted to go out with me. 3, the ones who had no idea what it meant. Someone asked if it was a ban. 4, those who sent me a dissertation. I could not believe how many political essays I received in response to a 4-letter acronym. 5, the liars. Ladies, so many men are pretending to be liberal. One guy had his profile say, Fox News is like Coco Melon for adults. Then I messaged him and he said, hi, I'm Matt. I matched with roughly 80 men and only one unmatched me. I went undercover as a MAGA girl boss on Bumble and Hinge.
This is a known thing. Men pretend to be vegan because they're trying to pick up chicks.
Yeah.
Yes, that is absolutely true. And it only lasts for so long because men eventually realise that the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. The sacrifice that they're making in order to pretend isn't worth what they're actually getting.
Yeah.
But they will do it for a time.
Well, do you know what's interesting is on Bumble, I saw like a lot of, like the soy boys, whatever, and I just would never even swipe. But G saw on my profile that I was right-leaning into cars, and he was like, that one. And he's like, you're one of the only women that had right-leaning.
Yeah, right.
And I thought it was funny, like not to say I had heaps of matches, but with Bumble, you can pay to see who's matched with you. And at one point, I think I had almost 1,500 or 2,000 people in the queue. Questionable quality, but you know what I mean? Like the numbers were there.
Yeah.
And
they only had 2 out of the 3 6s, so you wouldn't lower yourself.
Well, I'm just like, my whole thing with dating, and this is probably why I was single for so long.
Yeah.
If I'm lukewarm, I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a waste of your time, it's a waste of my time. If I feel genuinely, then I'll go.
Yeah.
But have I told you how G and I met? Aside from Bumble?
Look, I think you have, but look, I don't think you've told the podcast. So why not just bare your soul and
I'll
all
give
of
you the
your
brief
most
version.
private, deepest, darkest secrets?
Well, we wouldn't have normally matched because I was ready to delete it. I was literally on the app to delete it because I was just like, I hate this shit, I'm out. And whilst I was doing the whole delete, I get a super swipe, and I went like,
what's that, like they paid you money or something?
No,
or?
it's like a to alert you that they're there.
Can you imagine that? Like you pay money. I'm assuming he would have had to have paid money to be a member that could do super swipes.
No,
or
I think
like
you
that.
get one a day or something like that. I can't remember.
Right.
Anyway, so G super swiped me, and I was like, go away. And in my go away, I actually said, yeah, sure. And then in Bumble, it's meant to be only the women can speak first. So like it said, oh, you've got a match. And I was like, oh, whatever. And I'm like, getting ready to delete it. And all of a sudden I get a message from him. And I'm like, how the fuck did you message me? So then I go into the message and I'm like, I could not figure out how he was able to message me first.
Because he listed himself as a woman in the app?
No. So Bumble recently had changed that if you put a like a prompt question,
Right.
the guy can respond.
Oh, like an auto question.
Yeah,
thing. Right.
I did not know, and I didn't know I did that. And apparently my prompt was like, "Who would you invite to a dinner party?" And G wrote Elon Musk, and I was like,
"Yeah,
I'll buy."
Fair enough.
I'll buy.
Yeah.
And then the rest is, as they say, is history. We just hit it off, and then within 2 seconds, I've got all our initial messages. It's really cute, but within a couple of sections of messaging each other, he's like, "I'm not woke if you're into that," and I'm like, "Well, I worked for Jordan Peterson, so that should tell you everything." What a dick!
Well, there's that classic question: if you could invite one person to a dinner party, living or dead, who would it be? And my answer, of course, is my ex-girlfriend, and she'd be dead.
That's dark. Who would you invite to a dinner party?
Look, honestly, it would be so interesting. There's a number of people that I actually would just be fascinated to.
Give me 3. You get 3.
Okay, so Moses.
Yeah.
Because when he compiled the book of Genesis, it was a compilation. He had source documents at the time that he then picked from. There's about 16 different authors or something like that in the book of Genesis. He compiled it. Unfortunately, most of those records likely ended up in the library at Alexandria.
Yeah.
And burned.
Burnt down.
Because obviously the children of Israel, the descendants of Moses, went there, lived there for 400 years. They were stripped of all their belongings initially, as they were pushed into slavery. So presumably those manuscripts ended up in that library and burned.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we don't have the source documents that he compiled into the book of Genesis. I want to talk to him about all of that.
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions for that man.
Okay. And 2 more?
Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
I want to know what's fact and what's fiction.
Yeah, okay.
I think a lot of what the real Tesla, not the car, but the person, fanboys claim he discovered, I don't think he actually discovered. I think his mythology has been blown out of all proportion. But he was onto something in some pretty big ways.
Yep.
So I'd love to be able to just I don't know, I probably wouldn't understand a word he said would be the problem with that particular conversation. For number 3, this is the last person, so it's kind of like, well, but what about all these other people? I don't know. Let me think about it. Who would yours be?
I thought you'd say Tolkien or something.
Tolkien would be interesting, but he's written so prolifically. I already feel like you'll notice in the case of both Moses and Tesla, and I'm only just recognizing this now, it's because I have questions for them. There's unknowns that I would love to be able to discuss with them. Whereas Tolkien, it's kind of like, I've seen his body of work. He's got a biography. It's all kind of there.
Mine are different. Similar kind of thing. Da Vinci.
Right.
I just want to sit there and
the creative mind. Yep.
Yeah, I just want to sit there and just listen to everything and watch him. Actually, I think watching him would be better.
Literally conceptualized a helicopter.
Yeah.
Hundreds upon hundreds of years ago.
I just have so many questions.
Yep.
Marcus Aurelius.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But again, we've got meditations, and I know that's only a very limited thing, but okay, yep. All right.
Also from the way he governed Rome as well.
Yeah. Yep.
And the Stoicism and
the third one's hard, isn't it?
There's a few, I would say Alexander McQueen, but he was quite a degenerate in a way. But his vision and his way of doing things, I just love him.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he'd be the right person to have at a dinner party, but
I would probably put as my third person Mark Twain.
Yeah?
Because it would just be a brilliant conversation.
I wonder how many of those quotes are truly Mark Twain quotes.
Some of them definitely aren't, but when you read his writings, and his, there are letters and things of his that have been published, he was very witty and very cutting.
Okay.
And very clever with words. And he was also a riot. Like, this man was a drunkard. He was he lived for a couple of years. I think it was in France, but don't quote me on that. For years on end, basically at a brothel/pub. Yeah. Writing, drinking, partying, all the rest of it. And he would have some stories to tell, I would imagine.
Yeah, yeah. I do have last bit of good news.
Right.
All right. So you know how we talked about the other day that we were going to have a Topher plushie?
Yeah.
Would you like to see it?
Would I like to see it? Does it come with a dark alleyway to stand down the end of? That's terrifying.
I don't think he's impressed, guys.
think you've done me dirty. Are you okay, Carly? Are you okay right now?
Hang on.
Are you about to do? Okay, see, that one's better because it's got the teeth. The teeth are a very important feature of mine. Yeah. People talk about them.
Yeah.
So that other one, I think I don't mind the dark alleyway vibe. All right, I can live with that. But there's got to be the teeth.
Yeah. Well, this one is just like in the same way that we did Spicy Carlz, but this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Look, I people watching on YouTube and places where you can actually see what we're looking at. I'm not going to try and I'm not going to try and describe it to you. It is an abomination.
I don't know about the Sherlock Holmes hat. I don't know if that's you. I don't know if you're Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like.
Do you know what he could have? He could have like a top hat or something like from the 1920s.
You want something a bit more wanker.
Yeah, like a monocle or something.
You weren't supposed to agree with that, but thanks. Appreciate it. A monocle I could live with.
Yeah.
I mean, I do need glasses.
Do you?
Yeah.
Are you at that age?
I'm actually at the point now where I'm sitting in the back of the car coming down here and the laptop's on my knees pushed as far away from me so it's touching the back of the chair in front of me and I can't get it far enough away from me to actually be able to clearly read.
How do you sit on the laptop in the car? I'd feel sick.
No, I don't get motion. Well, I mean, I do, but it has to be pretty extreme for me to get motion sickness.
So how do we feel about Topher the Gopher? With yours?
In principle, yes. Go back to the other one. The other one I feel like is you've captured a little more of my dark side, I think.
He's got a smirk, but he needs his teeth.
Okay, so you know that picture of who's the big Hollywood actor? This picture comes up all the time. He's looking fed up. He's got a cigarette.
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
All right. We need to just Ben Affleck eyes that
just make it look a little bit more jaded.
Just make him look a bit more over everything.
The T-shirt though is just... The T-shirt makes me
But the logo's wrong. That's not my logo.
Oh,
you designed me a much better logo than that.
We'll worry about that bit later. But
so you said to me on Monday that you've got a sample plushie of yourself.
It's on its way.
On its way.
Yeah.
So you literally just sent them that picture of you as Spicy Carlz with the smoke coming out of your head.
No, I sent them. Hang on, I sent them the one that's on our apparel.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The more cartoony one.
Yeah.
And they turned it into a they're turning it into a plushie.
All right. Well, if you can do Topher the Gopher in that same cartoony style, I want to see my plushie.
This one.
I want.
I reckon we ditch the hat.
Okay.
And I reckon, I don't know, you guys let me know in the chat.
That's not the same cartoony style as your...
Spicy Carlz? Yeah, it is.
Spicy Carlz. Is it?
Yeah, let me pull it up. 1 minute.
Doubt.
It is.
Doubt. Okay.
I am naked and I can't unsee it now.
Yeah, you are. But also, I think maybe the colours, because the colours on yours are quite saturated and the colours on mine are quite bled out.
Yeah, we can fix that.
I think
it's more so getting the concept.
The concept, yes. The concept of that's pretty good, but he just needs to be a bit more jaded. But we need them to be able to...
He looks like he's going to shove some kids in a van.
He looks a little bit dirty, yeah. Make him look a bit more over it rather than, opportunistic, shall we say. But we need them to be able to both be on the same shirt and for them to have the same animation style and look like they belong. So,
what was that animation that we talked about a couple of weeks ago? The Tattle Twins?
Oh, the Tuttle Twins, yeah.
Yeah, we need to have a Carlz and...
Spicy
Carlz and Topher, the Gopher animation series.
We can bring back the One Nation one.
Oh, yeah. What happened to that? That was great.
So they ended it. It was expensive.
Yeah, I bet it was.
They ended it. And that's okay. That's, they're entitled to do that.
Was that just an election thing?
It ran for a long time.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I think she funded it by doing booze, like selling booze.
She's had some court cases and some other stuff going on that I don't think financially she's necessarily in the strongest of positions, and I don't think financially it made sense. I don't think it was paying for itself. I think that they should have taken that IP and that concept and Americanized it and brought Australian humour and targeted at Americans, but essentially doing South Park, but all around politics, and done with the sort of the Australianized humour that had. I think that would have been potentially financially very successful. But that would have been an investment as well to do sort of 10 episodes to get some traction, get some momentum, and
there's always time. I have one more good news, and this is a bit niche, but do you remember? I don't know if I can
handle so much good news in one day.
Do you remember Olivia Juliana? She's a young political activist that the Democrats contracted to start recruiting young men.
No, that one passed me by.
No, this is great. So, more men to the Democrats. I did have it pulled up, but I don't know where it went. Okay, so here it is here. That's a video. We don't want to watch a video. Let's just get some.
This is riveting.
Hang on.
We apologise for this break in transmission. Normal programming will resume shortly as soon as Carly gets her act together.
So you know Harry Sisson and like the soy boys that were helping Biden campaign?
No.
What do you mean? Do you ever go on the internet?
I actively avoid the stuff that makes me want to puke.
This is who was working for the Democrats.
Whoa. Okay, now we're officially getting a copyright strike.
Yeah.
Actually, it was probably short enough that we won't, but yeah.
So the Democrats recruited this young Texan political activist to try and recruit more men over to the Democrat Party.
Right.
And they were spending $20 million to try and get more young men. And guess what?
Sorry. Can help me out here. They spent $20 million trying to get more young men, and that's who they picked to lead that project.
That's the story, yes.
Okay.
And believe it or not, it didn't work.
No.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Wild. After 3 months, she got the sack.
Well,
Shocking.
That is just disgusting behaviour on the part of the Democrats.
Shocking.
Clearly, they needed to take a leaf out of every government's book. When something's not working, you do more of it. They needed to spend $200 million get a bunch of her friends.
She was, hang on, I found it. Let's have a look at this. So she was the Democrat darling. And they spent $20 million in a targeted campaign to sway young white male voters to the DNC. She is a Gen Z influencer and male outreach coordinator.
Just going to say, for $20 million, they probably could have got Sydney Sweeney.
I'm just saying. This
is a very, very body shaming episode. This one.
Well, it's not so much body shaming. I think it's just more. You can gaslight people as much as you want, but the truth will always prevail. And you've tried to push this out. Like, she can be overweight. That is her decision.
It's her decision.
But you cannot tell me and try and convince me that I have to think that's attractive and that young men want to date her.
And this is the thing, that it has not been acceptable to say this for about the last 15 years, but I think it's becoming acceptable to say it again. Pretty much everything in life is sales. Everything. Getting into relationships, convincing someone that you're in a relationship with to do or not do
everything's marketing.
Everything's marketing. Everything that you are selling all the time in life. And here's a really, really unpleasant fact. We are more likely to say yes to people that we are physically attracted to. That's a fact.
Yeah.
If you want to be more successful at convincing people of something, make yourself more attractive.
Well, nothing highlights this more than the current craziness around that American Eagle ad.
Oh, yeah.
I've got it all loaded up here.
Have you? Okay.
Yeah.
Because that has gone off the chain.
So we touched on it on Monday, and everyone's calling this Nazi dog whistles, eugenics. And like I said, you can take anything and manipulate it if you want to.
And we're not allowed to do some tongue-in-cheek humor anymore. Like, she talks about the fact that her jeans are blue.
Yeah.
Can we not just appreciate the wordplay and the joke?
This is the thing. These women, these left women, and unfortunately, sorry, G, but we're going to have to watch some videos. They've lost the plot. Feminism has radicalized them to the point where this is just mental illness on display.
But this, I'm sorry, I called it again. Over a year ago, I started warning that as we pass peak woke, you are going to find the people that will go down with the ship. The people that they've invested too much into this to be able to walk away from it.
Yeah.
And we have given, and you'll find this in my social media, you'll find this in some of my videos from literally over a year ago. This is the new generation.
I am not a moment.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
I'm talking, lady. We are going to find a new generation of bitter clingers.
Yes.
And that's what's being born right now. Are these women who are going to forever, for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 decades, while they're alive, maybe only 2 decades for some of them.
Yeah.
They are going to cling to this moment in time.
Yeah.
This in their mind, or 3 years ago, will in their mind forever remain the peak of humanity.
I'm just to save us copyright strikes, I'm going to play it without sound.
Yeah.
I think that might be better. So this is peak woke. This is a Calvin Klein ad.
Okay, so for those who are listening, this is a Calvin Klein ad with I believe this is a You Go Girl sized model.
Yes. Very overweight woman.
There's a lot of stunning and a lot of brave going on in this very Spartan set.
So I've got a couple of things aside from that. Like, it's easy to pick on the woman, but let's look at the set. What is inspiring about this? What is aspirational? Yeah. What makes you want to buy a Calvin Klein? Her body's redundant at this point. Like, she's on a lounge suite in some kind of brutalist Soviet-esque bus stop.
That is exactly what
That's
it is. It's
somehow in a studio. Like, what is this?
Also, notice the lack of contrast between her and the couch.
Yeah.
Now, understand, every single thing that you see in a ad or a TV show was chosen.
Yeah.
Right? And if they had budget. Low budget things will occasionally go to someone's house and film it, that sort of stuff. If you're watching it on YouTube, okay, there can be stuff that's just there because that's what was there when they walked into the house. But every professionally produced ad or show is in a purpose-built set.
That would have cost like tens of thousands, hundreds of $1,000s.
They've spent probably millions of dollars on that shoot. That'd be an enormous soundstage studio that they've rented out for hundreds of thousands of dollars for one day. All the crew, everything. So they've chosen a couch that gives very little to no contrast against her body, right? So they've deliberately chosen that. Then high contrast against this really Spartan background that is also incredibly grimy. Now, maybe they were aiming for a marble look. Maybe that's what that's supposed to be. But to me, that comes off as really dirty, grotty concrete.
It looks like a bus stop.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only thing I can...
It's a grotty concrete bus stop against an infinite black background with a high gloss or a medium gloss floor that allows you a little bit of reflection there that gives you a little bit of depth. This is, Soviet era brutalist.
But just read this comment here for a second. All I see is a beautiful black woman modeling one of the more notable clothing brands in the world. I don't see an issue. What's with the racism? That's all these people can see. They have been brainwashed to a point where logic has...
No, but this is that's a male that said that, Dr. Ray somebody or other.
No, Hendrix or something, but I think it's a man.
Yeah, so this...
Oh, it's a parody account. I take it back. If it's a parody account, I take it back.
All right. But what we've got here is this provides people with an opportunity to virtue signal. So they talk a lot on the left about dog whistling. And on the right, actually, very few people except for actual neo-Nazis do it. Right, really, honestly, very few people actually do it. But they do it all the time.
Can you read that comment?
No, I can't from here.
I'm glad they not only showed the average black woman body, but also the average black living space.
Oh, goodness me. Oh, we're getting banned for sure. Well, thank you for listening to the last episode of the Oddcast. But can I come back to this? Because the left instinctively now lives by the rules for radicals. Saul Alinsky. Now, what he wrote at the time was revolutionary, and it was a manual. It was a tactical handbook, an infantry minor tactics handbook on how to effect change. But that's been talked about and taught so deeply now in our universities and our activism and on the left of politics that it's now just a part of the culture. It's a part of the furniture. One of the key rules that Saul Alinsky espoused was that their reaction is our action. So we don't do something for the purpose of getting closer to where we want to be. We do something for the purpose of eliciting a reaction that we can then use to get us closer to where we want to be. That's exactly what ads like this are. It's not about the ad. It's about the reaction that it gets from other people and how they can then use that to say, see, we told you they were all racist. We told you they were body shamers. We told you they were intolerant bigots. It's actually about how they can then weaponize the reaction.
Yeah. Was it Lenin that said, give me the children from 8 years and I'll make them a lifelong Bolshevik?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of sentiment.
There's just so many things. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. But the brutalism, the lack of light, the lack of color. I talked about this on Monday. We watched that Real I Did.
Yeah, the drabness.
It's deliberate. So I want to contrast. So you guys have all seen the Sweeney ad. I don't need to play it again. But I want to show you this. So firstly, this is Beyonce.
Right.
What's the first thing that you notice?
So the top one's Beyonce and the bottom one's Sydney Sweeney.
Beyonce's meant to be an African American.
Yep.
Why does Beyonce look remarkably white there? Like, as in
she looks tanned. She looks like she's got a California tan.
It looks like they have lightened her skin. And for contrast, so I'm just going to show you something. Beyonce, Destiny's Child. So this is when Beyonce was in Destiny's Child. So we're talking like peak, like what, early 2000s? Okay, so.
I don't know.
Black woman. Yeah?
That's Beyonce on the far right, isn't it?
Far right, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So she's African American. No worries. We know this about Beyonce.
All the single ladies, all that stuff, all those dance videos. Yeah.
She's always been a black woman. No worries. So why is it then she looks almost white? What is this?
She's just following in Michael Jackson's footsteps.
Beyonce can do that. She can cosplay as a white woman. Blonde hair, long, straight blonde. Beyonce has frizzy hair.
Yeah.
But she's got long, blonde, curled out hair. She's wearing all denim.
Yep.
She can do that.
Yep.
But Sydney Sweeney, it's eugenics. Please, fuck off.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
This is, but you can't say that because.
Well, we can. This is the thing. We actually have to. We have to stop saying we can't say that. We have to stop self-censoring and actually just say the thing.
Oh, I say, when I say I can't say that, you can't say it to the lefties. But,
yeah.
But this is the outrage, right? So there's actually another level to this, which I didn't know about. So this was actually a homage to a Brooke Shields ad that came out years ago.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to play the Brooke Shields one.
Okay.
I won't get copyright for this, will I?
Oh, gosh, I've got no idea.
I won't.
The secret of life lies hidden in the genetic code. Genes are fundamental in determining the characteristics of an individual and passing on these characteristics to succeeding generations. Occasionally, certain conditions produce a structural change in the gene, which will bring about the process of evolution. This may occur in one or more of the following ways. Firstly, by selective mating, in which a single gene type proves superior in transmitting its genes to future generations. Secondly, by gene drift, in which certain genes may fade away while other genes persist. And finally, by natural selection, which filters out those genes better equipped than others to endure in the environment.
Wait for it.
What is she doing?
This may result in the origin of an entirely new species, which brings us to Calvin's and the survival of the fittest.
Calvin Klein jeans.
How old do you reckon Brooke Shields was in that video?
Gosh, I mean, she seems very early 20s.
15.
Oh, right. Okay. Yikes.
Yeah. A little bit creepy.
A little bit creepy, yeah.
A little bit creepy.
Yeah.
She was 15. And there's a whole thing. I'm not going to go deep dive on Brooke Shields, but there is a whole thing like her being photographed for Playboy at 10 years old and the pictures were published. Yeah. Like, we can deep dive into this if you want.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. The Brooke Shields story is fascinating. Her mother was behind most of this. She was basically
So she was groomed from a very early age.
Yeah.
Wow.
Posing for Playboy at 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were published.
And how does a story producer at Playboy go, oh, yeah, let's do that? How does the photographer show up and go, oh, yeah?
Well, this is like late 70s, early
Even
80s.
still.
And yeah, there's a whole lot of darkness around that. But that's actually what the Sydney Sweeney ad is a play on, right? I don't necessarily think it's a good thing to play on, but...
You realise the left doesn't have a sense of humour.
No, of course I don't.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things. Sydney Sweeney, she's hot. She's a babe. Like, sorry, I think she's gorgeous.
Sure.
And everyone's like, oh, she's mid. Whatever, that's subjective.
Oh, she's a good-looking woman.
Can we play some reactions?
Sure.
To boycott American Eagle for their racist shit online.
Pause.
Talking about blue jeans and white people.
Has anyone ever explained to this lady that a boycott only works if you used to spend your money with them? Companies are not afraid of boycotts by people that never bought their products before.
That will also, and they're not trying to target.
They're not trying to sell to you, yeah.
Boycott American Eagle. Boycott the shit out of them. Boycott American Eagle. Do not buy them. And cancel this person, Miss Sweeney. Cancel for her being racist, for doing Nazi propaganda. Cancel American Eagle.
Cancel. Listen to me. I'm a white woman.
All I can say to her is that I hope she gets the help she needs, in a timely fashion. I hope that her health insurance covers psychological therapy.
You think I'm done. You think I'm done.
It's time for another food bank haul. What did my family of... No! 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 Because
Sorry.
hundreds of thousands of people are starving!
Is that Abby's sister?
And mothers and grandfathers are
All right. Well, that's enough of that.
I'm sorry, G.
Can you grab on my X a photo that I posted just while I was in the car on the way down here?
Yeah.
It's a photo that most people are going to recognize. It's of a Palestinian mother holding a very skeletal child.
That's gone mega viral.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a commentator and theologian by the name of Stephen Shavura, shout out to you, Stephen. I doubt you'll ever see or hear this, but just in case you do, does really good work. He posted on X talking about that video saying, please forgive me for being skeptical about a photo of a mother who is not malnourished holding a child who is. Please, sorry, but this raises some questions for me. And I agree with him entirely because in addition to this, before that photo came out, of course, what happened to the 14,000 people that were less than a week away from starving? What happened to that? It's gone. That story's gone. They didn't starve, right? There's been so much misinformation, and this is where Crying Wolf does so much harm because there are real problems there that really need to be addressed. And we need to know accurately what's going on so that we can hold people accountable if the wrong stuff really is happening. But New York Times has now had to admit that it published that photo knowing that was not the result of malnutrition. That was the result of a medical condition. And therefore, the article that it was attached to completely misrepresented and, quite frankly, abused that child's suffering to score political points and be popular amongst their own readership.
Well, even if you read the comments after this happened today, the comments are still saying, no, that's false, that's not true. And what you've got is people who are just completely out of their mind, polarized beyond like there's no getting them back. That something like this happens where they genuinely have issued propaganda and they've had to backpedal and it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
People don't care about the truth anymore. The truth is irrelevant.
And they don't care about the fact that they got lied to about 14,000 people being on the brink of starvation. They don't care that they've been lied to time and time again. Every time the new lie comes out, they'll go and release a video like that one you just played, which please do not play anymore.
No.
Someone completely losing their mind over a crisis that actually, I can't say what is or isn't happening, and this is the problem. There's been so much propaganda now, there's been so many lies that I'm sorry, I cannot give you the benefit of the doubt when you claim that there's a genocide happening over there.
It's getting to the point where I think people have made Palestine their personality. And again, not to say there isn't real suffering, but hello, have you ever seen a war? This is what war looks like. What do you think World War II looked like? It was horrendous. And I always got to say the humidor. It's not the humidor. The
Hamas.
No. Russia.
I was going to say if the
Holodomor.
Sorry. I was going to say if you're confusing humidor with Hamas, I'm going to be very offended.
No.
My cigars will be very offended.
Sorry. I always get the red one.
Holodomor.
This is unfortunately what war looks like. I don't like war. I don't condone war, but war is ugly.
Specifically, this is what war looks like when the civilian population is not able to flee. And people blame Israel for that. But let's not forget that there are other borders into other countries that are also
interestingly,
closed.
I pulled this up. I didn't know we were going to go here, but this came out in the Australian today. This just happened.
I didn't even know
the Arab
this.
countries are calling on Hamas to disarm and leave Gaza.
That is the only way that this conflict actually ends once and for all.
And so this came out 17 minutes ago. So Arab nations have called on Hamas to disarm.
Well played you.
Yeah.
I had no idea about this.
Yeah. Have called on Hamas to disarm and leave Gaza in an unprecedented move against the terror group. The Arab League, which includes Qatar, Saudi Arabia and Egypt, also condemned for the first time Hamas's massacre in southern Israel in October 7th. They've joined 16 other countries, including Australia and the European Union, in supporting the new declaration, which sets out a phased plan to end the nearly 8-decade conflict between Israelis and Palestinians and the ongoing war in Gaza. The plan, laid out at the UN conference on Tuesday, would culminate with an independent, demilitarized Palestine living side by side with Israel and the nation's eventual integration into the wider Middle East region.
Hamas are a terror organization, and the people they terrorize the most are the Palestinians. This conflict does not end until they are gone.
I'm not pulling it up, but Clem Ford came out saying she would not denounce Hamas because it's a civilian's right to side with someone who would free them from the oppressor. They are her words.
Hamas are the oppressor of the Palestinian people.
But I know that, but you have someone like Clementine Ford and her associates who are all saying they agree with Hamas and they agree that these Palestinians have joined Hamas to fight Israel. That's where we're at with this.
Amazing.
I don't condone what's going on, and I think Israel's playing a big part in it. And look, I don't pretend to know the ins and the outs either. I only know it from, like we all do, from my couch, from the comfort of my Western country.
And we know that a significant proportion of what comes across our newsfeed isn't true, and we don't know yet which bits are which.
And case in point, we just saw some propaganda, and I guess Israel has issued propaganda.
Yep.
A lot of it is. This is the thing that people seem to have forgotten.
Yeah.
It's there to elicit a reaction.
Yep.
And if you are not reacting, then you weren't the target.
Yep.
They are trying to get you to join their side. That's what propaganda is.
And the reaction is the point. Their reaction is our action. What they're putting out there is not for the purpose of getting themselves closer to their goal. It's for the purpose of getting a reaction from you that gets them closer to their goal.
I think the news has long forgotten that their job is to convey the news without a biased opinion. Yep. Now it's just to polarize people.
Yeah, so
keep people divided.
I mean, arguably, news has always been propaganda because it's generally been wealthy people who are very powerful, connected to powerful people who own the newspapers and own the media. But there was a time 40, 50 years ago when the news really was more about actually just telling you what happened. Now, there's still editorializing in, do we cover this story, do we not? There's still bias, there's still propaganda happening just in the simple choice of which story is considered newsworthy.
Yeah.
But at least it was delivered as a factual, this is what happened. Then they began to have opinion pages in the newspaper and opinion types of news like The Project here in Australia, and now it's just all merged into one.
Yeah. And what's happened is people that... I don't want to be disparaging, but there's people who just shouldn't have access to social media the way they do. In the sense, I'm not saying censorship. I'm saying
under 16s should be banned.
No,
I think, have you been talking to Julie? Because I reckon you two would get on like a house on
fire.
No,
shut up. Let me make my point. What I want to say is just because you have an opinion doesn't mean you need to voice it. And people are able to amass these massive platforms from just being either hyperbolic, crazy, basically showcasing their mental health and getting a following from it, like a la Abby Chatfield.
I agree that that's a problem. I disagree that anyone should be barred from social media on
I'm not saying they should be barred. I'm saying
it's social choice. We
have allowed this to fester, and now we're dealing with the consequences. And so you have these people out there who are literally out of their mind but able to build up a following around them. We didn't have that prior to social media.
But this is why I'm a big advocate for point and laugh. Point and laugh.
Bring back public shame.
Make being associated with these people an object of mockery. Make it okay to say Abby Chatfield is having an episode. She needs psychiatric help.
Time. Psychiatric help, I brought this up. This is kind of like a tangent.
Tangent time, tangent time, tangent time, tangent time.
It gets bigger every time. So this came across my desk this morning, and I thought
you have a desk.
Yeah,
my.
It's my
how old school of you,
my
boomer,
kitchen table.
Very boomer-esque.
And I'm just going to play it. I'm not going to actually say anything. We'll just play it, and then you're welcome.
Hello, everybody. It's JD. I use they, them, and turtle for my pronouns. I'm in the Springfield, Eugene area, and I get to be a member of the council.
In case you missed that, let's show you again who is advising a state mental health director on mental health practices.
I use they, them, and turtle for my pronouns.
They, them, and turtle.
That's JD Holt, who goes by JD Terrapin on Facebook. And yes, you heard it right, identifies as they, them, and a turtle. No, not Mitch McConnell. And is one of 24 consumers on the Oregon Health Authority's Advisory Council. But wait, there's more. Linwood City in Washington State is having a meeting to reconsider the unanimous appointment.
Oh, we won't read that bit. But yeah, so this is who is now being elected to positions in councils to advise on mental health. This is how far we've gone.
So the expression, the inmates, the patients running the asylum, that was supposed to be a criticism, not governance advice. That's not meant to be considered a good thing.
It's gotten to the point where you're right. Like, look, bullying sucks. I've been bullied. You've been bullied. It's not necessarily nice, but it has a role to play in a weird way. It's about establishing social hierarchy, kids figuring out who's who, and bullying to a degree, like it happens where...
But I'm not even advocating for bullying. I'm advocating for saying what's true. If you lick windows, someone calling you a window licker is not bullying.
Yeah.
Okay? It's an observation of an actual fact. If you're an obese, extremely unhealthy, mentally unstable human being who is being put onto a mental health board, I'm sorry, but we can call you out.
Yeah.
That's not bullying.
Well,
That's
the
just
progressive left
observation.
won't let you. That's the point. They'll call you a bigot.
Sure, call me a bigot.
Yeah. But isn't this doublespeak? This is literally like 1984 newspeak. Yeah, and just gaslighting you to believe that these women are attractive, that they're sane, rational, they deserve a position in government.
This ends when we flip the incentives on their heads. Right now, people get rewarded for this stuff. It is up to us to actually make it so that doing this kind of stuff and advocating for it or facilitating it is a career ender. And when we flip that on its head, it'll stop. It'll stop instantly. Look at all the companies that have abandoned Pride Month and all that stuff. All that stuff's gone. Why?
Yeah.
Because the incentives changed. Why? Because of the Bud Light boycott and a couple of other instances along the way. All of a sudden, companies said, hang on, we can't make money out of this anymore. The incentives changed. The behavior changed. We have to change the incentives here by calling it out.
I was so hoping that Sydney Sweeney wouldn't come out and coalesce and, apologise. I'm so sorry. Because it's not just American Eagle. She's copping the backlash too.
Yeah, personally.
And she's at the peak of her career right now.
Yep.
But she has posted, and I'm going to play you what she's posted. Where are we? Here we go. Hang on. We don't want sound because copyright. Sorry.
Okay, so she's driving a little tractor thing, grooming a horse, sitting on a beach chair.
Wearing cute little shorts, smiling, butts out.
Yep.
That's what she posted. I love it.
Hang on. The caption. That fatty patties are going to melt over this one. Okay, that wasn't written by her. Sorry,
No.
that wasn't written by Sydney Sweeney. Okay, so I thought that was literally the caption that she'd put with it. I was about to say, okay, finally, you're right. She's a hottie. All right, I'll admit it. If that's what she's writing, then fine.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is that she's not backing down. She's not apologizing.
She has not, which is great to see. And, she's doing very all-American things. She's wearing a cowboy hat. She's got her little denim shorts on.
This is traditional all-American
Yeah,
things. This
is
is harking back to 1950s all-American.
Yeah, this is like what you would expect at a college campus, young teenagers. She's not young. She's like almost 30. But, this is what you expect those Midwestern girls to be like.
Yep.
And good.
Yeah, good.
There's nothing wrong with that.
100%. We are allowed to like what we like. This is the funny double standard that came with all this wokeness was you have to accept me for who I am. Love is love, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I happen to like physically fit, traditionally attractive, feminine women. Oh, no, you can't. You can't like that. You're not allowed to find an actress that's, in good physical condition, more attractive and be more inclined to spend money going to see her in a movie than you are, a beached whale.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to we're not allowed to like what we like. You can only use that argument if what you like is on that list of oppressed, approved things.
Yeah. Do you know who Pedro Pascal is?
I do.
This is the latest thing that people are...
This is a shame because I like him as an actor.
Really?
I
what
think
is Game of Thrones?
I've barely watched that. Oh, no, I saw a few seasons actually a long time ago. No, he was in, was it not Pedro Pascal who was in the latest of the Gladiator movies? Was that not Pedro Pascal?
The one with Denzel Washington? I don't know, actually. So he's a creep. He's a creep. I'm sorry. He's absolutely a creep.
Right.
I'm trying to bring up, I've seen heaps of YouTube videos on this, but Hollywood are trying to push him on us in unprecedented levels. He is everywhere at the moment. He's in every movie. He's on every bloody red carpet. This is like Pedro Pascal fatigue.
Right.
And he is, apparently he's got anxiety, which requires him to touch people.
Oh.
But he doesn't touch...
I did hear about this.
He doesn't touch men.
He
touches women.
He touches women, yeah, okay.
Particularly one of his co-stars who's heavily pregnant
Yeah.
and married to someone else and pregnant
Yeah.
to someone else.
Yeah.
And he keeps touching her and rubbing her and holding hands and things like that. It's creepy.
Yeah, right.
If Harvey Weinstein was doing that,
Yeah,
you wouldn't be allowing it. But because it's him...
Or if Mel Gibson, can you imagine?
Like, there's just something about him. He gives me creep. I don't like it at all. He is...
I mean, that moustache doesn't help. That is a very...
It's the campaign of pushing him on us.
Yeah, look, this is tricky. I do like him as an actor. I do think he's done some really good work and he gets into his roles really well.
He was in Gladiator 2. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. No, I actually, and Gladiator 2, actually, the first 15 minutes I was like, I don't know. But by the end, I thought it was actually a very good film.
Here we go. Backlash.
There is, again, we've just talked about the fact that you can interpret so much out of so little. Obviously, if it's a consistent behavior over a period of time and so forth, well, that becomes evidence as opposed to an anecdote. And I'm not deep enough in this to really know whether we've crossed that threshold yet. But
this is not his wife.
Let's just make sure that we're hunting for the right
reasons.
reasons.
This is someone else's wife.
Yeah.
And there's Sydney Watson did a great video on this.
Yeah, okay.
Very, very in depth, and go watch it. Sydney Watson does great videos.
Yep.
But there's just too many incidences where he's touching women in a way that if that happened to me, I'd be like, what the fuck? Don't touch me.
Yeah.
And of course, anxiety is sort of, like.
And if it's a pattern of behavior, then
look at what's this chick's name? Sarah something. Look at her face.
Yeah.
Like she ain't into it. She's grimacing. There's a lot of.
See, I will say a photo like that is borderline meaningless on its own. In isolation.
I can play you the clip. I've got to convince him. I didn't know we were going to go down this road.
I'm not sitting here defending him. I'm saying I don't know, but I just think it's really important to not. Yeah. Okay. So she shoved his hand off once, and then he's grabbed her hand.
Oh, it's because he has anxiety. He needs to hold her hand.
Yeah.
I find it hard to believe that someone who is a huge movie star and who is the focus on movie sets around hundreds of people can't be in settings where there's other people around and needs to hold someone's hand. I find that hard to believe.
Most Hollywood stars are head cases.
I know that.
One way or another, most of them are head cases.
Topher's not convinced, guys. Let us know in the comments.
Look, I just haven't looked at it. I haven't looked into it enough. And let me be clear, I'm not defending him, but I am saying...
Sounds like it.
No, but what I am saying is we need to make sure that when we hunt for witches, we only burn the witches.
That's fair.
Right?
I just think there's something interestingly being orchestrated where he is
just being
everywhere
pushed.
all at once.
Could it not just be his moment? He's the it guy.
No, he's woke. He says all the right woke things.
Oh, sure, but he would never even got into Hollywood if he wasn't. Like, that's a given.
Yeah.
Anyone that's in Hollywood is either woke or is considered, someone like a Denzel Washington or Mel Gibson, etc. They made it before all the wokeness really sort of kicked in. Anyone younger has to be woke. You don't get in if you're not.
No, of course, but it's also showing that Hollywood is declining as well because a lot of these movies suck. People just aren't interested.
That's
particularly when you've got
true.
Performative. Why does it keep staying on you? Am I doing something wrong?
It's because of my voice.
I've got a really itchy eye and it's driving me nuts. The way Hollywood is using movies now to basically indoctrinate people or just make you feel guilty.
So I thought the success of the Vatican movie, the one about the appointing of a new pope, was beautiful film actually, and really, like, if you haven't seen it,
it's with Ralph Fiennes.
Yeah, wait till it comes onto whatever streaming service you watch and watch
Conclave.
it. Conclave. Thank you. It is actually it's a beautiful movie, and it's really well done, and they tread this beautiful line of addressing transgenderism without being at all woke.
Okay.
And it's actually really interesting how they've walked that line. They're acceptable within Hollywood culture, but they haven't actually shoved anything down your throat necessarily.
I haven't seen it,
and it's visually stunning.
Yeah,
the
hard
set,
not to be in the Sistine Chapel and.
But when you see the construction of the shots, the cinematography, the way the shots are being constructed is just
beautiful.
Stunning. So and that movie's done very well, and other movies that are a bit less, I don't know, a little bit more wholesome are doing really, really well. And I find that very, very encouraging. I think it's a part of that whole shift that we're seeing. I mean, I sent you a bunch of screenshots from the Australian.
I've got them here ready to go.
There you go. So I could not help but notice. So I saw this screenshot. Now, this is from the Australian. This article popped up on my newsfeed. I grabbed a screen grab of it and I posted that to my Facebook saying, oh, this is interesting. It's, and this is a part of that trend that you and I have been talking about for some time now, where more and more mother positive and family positive content is making it out in the mainstream.
For those listening, the headline is, I care for my own kids, so why am I made to feel like a freak?
Yep, and there's a lovely photo there of a family. Scroll down a little bit for me. Okay, so the subheading is different there. The image that they, posted up onto Facebook was slightly different to this one. And the caption was all very positive around women who choose motherhood.
And then there was a couple of others. There was this one.
Well, that's right. So I posted that first one, and then suddenly I came across a second one, same morning, posted on the same morning. Mum's the word on today's motherhood misery memoir. And it's a criticism of how feminists are constantly criticizing mothers.
Yes.
And motherhood and the choice to be a mother. And then a third one crossed my path. Why does mainstream feminism still devalue motherhood? These are 3 separate articles that all came across my news feed from The Australian today, this morning.
So not to be conspiratorial,
Sure.
but there's a couple of things I want to point out. You sent me the first one, and I have a subscription to The Australian.
Sure.
And I also follow them on X. So I went to go and find them, and I couldn't find these articles anywhere.
Yeah, right.
I even typed them into Google, like the words that you could see.
Yeah.
Couldn't find them. I was like, hang a minute. So then I was like, looking at the screenshot you sent me, I'm like, okay, that's not off X, that must be Facebook. So I go onto Facebook, I go onto The Australian's Facebook, and you're right, they're there today.
Yeah.
But I want to point out something for those of you who can't see what I'm pointing out. This first article is, why does mainstream feminism still devalue motherhood?
Yeah.
Look at the date it was published. July 22nd, 2023. That's a 2-year-old article.
And they've just reposted about it now.
The other one, Mum's the word on today's motherhood misery memoir. That's from June 18, 2022.
Yeah, right.
And then the other one was from October 1st, 2022. These are old articles. Why did they get posted today?
Well, see, this is what stood out to me. So I then grabbed all 3 of these images and I posted them up on social media saying what's happening at the Australian. And that now begs even more questions because I was in the car. I haven't dug into these. So that begs now an even deeper question. What I hypothesized and what I've said to you already, Carly, is that their data, their metrics are telling them that pro-motherhood content is going to perform well right now.
Yes, there is a backlash.
If they're reaching back into their archives and going, where's our pro-motherhood articles? And they've got to reach back 3 years to find them.
Yeah.
Well, that says something in the first place. But again, what's happening at the Australian? That they've reached back into their archives, grabbed 3 different articles from the last couple of years that are pro-motherhood and shoved them all out on the same morning. What are they market testing? I think that their research is telling them, like what it did with Volvo, and Volvo's made a pivot towards family-friendly advertising, like what happened as a result of the Bud Light boycott, like what's happening with American Eagle jeans. I assure you their sales are not plummeting. They are not being successfully boycotted. I don't even...
They're going through the roof.
Correct. And I have every expectation that this will prove to be one of the most successful marketing campaigns in their history, just because of the amount of controversy that it's created. And the people saying, boycott, were never buying their jeans in the first place. And the old boy down at the farm is now looking at his girlfriend going, hey, how do you feel about a pair of American Eagle jeans for your birthday? You know?
Do you know what's funny is I actually only own American Eagle jeans.
Is that right? You closet neo-Nazi. You.
No, when I went to America in 2011 or 2012, we were $1 for $1. So
good times.
It was a great time. And I was there for a friend's wedding and we had the most fun trip. We were 2 weeks and we were all just sort of traveling through Arizona and then we went to Vegas. And for someone who doesn't drink, smoke, party or anything, I loved Vegas.
Yeah.
Loved it. I can't wait to take G there. I hope it's still as I remember it. But I discovered American Eagle when I was there.
Yeah.
And I tried the jeans on. I was like, these are amazing because I was doing CrossFit at the time. I know.
Yeah. That's all right. Yeah.
And they were a bit stretchy and I was like, oh, these are great. Because remember old school denim had no stretch?
I do. Yep.
Right? So old denim.
Very unforgiving on the chafage if you have to walk a long way in them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when I went to American Eagle all those years ago, I was like, wow, these are like stretchy. And I was, in my CrossFit era. So I had sort of quads on me. And then because they were so good, and they were only like $60 American.
Yeah.
So very affordable.
Yeah.
And so ever since then.
Back then when we were at parity.
Yeah. But I still buy them now. And I used to just buy them overseas and ship them to Australia. But now American Eagle has actually come into Australia.
Yeah, right.
They're in Maya.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to see what Australians are doing with it in Maya because they do make great stuff. I don't know if the quality has gone down. Maybe it has. But now American Eagle have cottoned on to the fact that us Australians were buying it. So they've made an Australian website and the price is double.
Ah, yeah, of course.
Bastards.
Of course.
So
don't even get me started about Games Workshop and what they do to Australian buyers of all their miniatures.
So you buy American Eagle jeans in Australia for $200. In America, they're like 60-ish USD. So
which is
about
$100 Australian. Yeah. Wow. No, so this is all a continuation of this trend that we've been observing. We started observing it when Volvo put out that ad, and we started talking about it then, and then contrasting that with Jaguar, which things aren't going well for them at the moment. Not as badly as some commentators are trying to make out, but they're not going well. and we've seen it since then in so many different ways. It is very clear to me that the organisations that have budget to be spending on forecasting and marketing and trend prediction, they are jumping on the family-friendly, the motherhood-friendly trend right now.
Well, I showed you that Ineos. Oh God, I say it wrong.
Ineos.
The Grenadier ad with the kids playing in the mud.
Yep.
Like this is. Do you know what I think it is as well? Millennials are now becoming parents, and they waited a lot longer.
Yeah.
And
which means they've got more money.
Yeah, and not only that, millennial kids grew up pre-internet. We didn't get, phones and social media till a lot later. So our childhood was playing mud paddies, running in puddles.
Riding the BMX to my mate's place to see if he's home so we could go down to the creek and catch tadpoles.
Yes.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff. Yabbying, like riding your bike. I remember, so where we were in Sunbury, at that time, it was, what do you call it? All the new estates were slowly popping up.
Yep.
And back
Slumbery.
It was not a slum. There were parts that were definitely. Do you ever say the word derros? I feel like that's a Sunbury word, but no one uses derros anymore.
Derros, really?
Yeah.
No.
There was literally that part over there was the derro part,
yeah.
and then that was the rich part, and
everyone uses it. Come on, Australia use derro.
I use derros, and people's like, "What's a derro?" I'm like, what do you mean? What's a derro?
Someone who's got a durry.
Yeah, derro is just like derelict.
Yeah, derelict person.
Derelict?
A person who. Yes.
I think a lot of this is millennials because people think millennials are still 20. I wish we are actually about to hit our 40s.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you are about to hit your 40s. I got into my 40s years ago.
But you're Gen X, right?
I'm the very bottom end of Gen X.
1982?
Yeah. I'm 82, yeah.
Yeah, so that's literally the cutoff point.
Yeah.
So I brought this article up, but I found it on Instagram.
On that, there is a big difference between me and my oldest brother, who's 8 years older.
Yeah.
There is a really marked cultural difference between him and I. We get along great, but I can see a lot more of the Gen X stereotypes in him, whereas I am genuinely in between the stereotypes that you hear for the two groups.
Well, even G's 1982, and we'll watch movies and stuff together, and it's just that even though it's only 4 years, it's that little bit older than me. For example, he likes the band Tool, and that's just too early for me.
Yeah.
Like Nirvana was.
Yeah.
Like I know them, but they were just a little bit too early for me.
I was slightly too young to be devastated by the suicide of Kurt Cobain. I didn't quite understand what it was all about.
Yeah.
Whereas my older brother, not that he was particularly into it necessarily, but all of his peers were absolutely devastated.
I found this article from the ABC, who I don't follow, so I don't know why it popped up in my thing, but I'm just trying to get it. It was on Instagram. So, speaking of kids not being allowed to be kids, there is a council in Australia, in Brighton of all places, that is coming together to not allow kids to have a makeshift little ramp and BMX track.
Because somebody got hurt.
Someone did the ouchies.
Someone got an ouchie, and this is where lawyers really have ruined the world because they've run around telling everybody to sue each other, and so now liability is an enormous problem.
That sort of litigation was very American, and now it's made its way here.
And what it does is it really stops anyone like a council or anything from wanting to touch anything. Because if it's bushland and someone's walking through bushland and they hurt themselves, then that's on them. But if you made a walking path and they trip over a route that wasn't clear, well, now they can sue you because you said it was a walking path, but you hadn't made it safe for me to walk on. So that's on you now.
This is why, I mean, we say this nearly every podcast, but take the warning labels off things. Just
let nature sort it out.
Why are people so afraid of getting hurt? Well, it is in an ouchie.
But people aren't necessarily afraid of getting hurt. The people who own whatever it is, they're afraid of getting sued. That's exactly what's happened. And honestly, we need some pretty sweeping legal reforms to just completely remove this subculture from the legal profession. Most of these lawsuits.
That's how they make their money.
Well, yeah, and most of these lawsuits simply should not be possible. They should get laughed at.
So when I was a kid, I'll play this article in a second. Like I said, around us, there was so many different housing estates being built, and we used to go play in the frames.
Yeah.
And, swing around, climb it.
Back before people were ripping off all the copper pipes and everything. Yeah.
We were climbing through building sites when the wooden frames were up. And where we lived, there was a lot of hills, so we'd strap our rollerblades on and just hope to hell that you
down the hill. Yeah.
And look, I only broken arm once.
It was skateboards for me, and I don't have any long-term scars from the skin that I lost on the asphalt.
Yep. I remember getting a a brilliant graze. Remember the old Richmond grazers?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I stacked it going down a really steep hill with rollerblades, and I took off all the skin from my hip to my knee.
You got to roll. That's you got to roll. Oh, no, it's sandpaper. The road is sandpaper.
The road is lava. I've broken both wrists like 2-3 times just from being like utterly fearless as a kid. Just didn't care. No. But I remember, we would create go-karts, and this is actually what created a bit of a go-kart resurgence in our little area. So we found this table in someone's shed. I can't remember what it was, but it was like a table that had wheels. Yeah. And so naturally, because we lived on a bit of a hill, we decided that table was a skateboard. Yeah. So we sat on the table and went down the hill once and went, that's really fun. Yeah. So now we're going to strap ourselves to the table and someone's going to push us. Yeah. No helmets, no nothing, just whoosh. Yeah. And I mean, we were in a cul-de-sac, so it's not like cars were coming up. So then we started to like strap things to skateboards. So we had the skateboard and we're like, well, what if we put a chair on the skateboard? And then, you can imagine how this happened.
So I live on a hill that is quite steep. And I really want to do like a billy cart race.
Yes.
I would like a community billy cart race. I want people, dads, to spend a year building a little billy cart with their kids.
Well, that's what ended up happening.
Bringing all the hay bales and all that stuff. As if the council's ever.
But this is what I think millennials are craving. I think, we've had a bit of a taste, like millennial women like myself, we were brought up somewhat feminist. I managed to evade most of it. But the nostalgia is making a comeback for a reason because people are desperately unhappy, and you see this in a lot of advertising at the moment. But, millennials will have those memories. When we were going down the hill with the table and stuff, our dad saw that, went, let's make them some billy carts. Yeah. And so then all the local dads, because remember we used to know our neighbours.
Yeah, we used to, Yeah.
You go across the street and you go there for dinner or barbecue and your dads would be out having a beer and watering the garden while you're running around doing whatever. Yeah. So all the local dads came together and they built us all billy carts. Yeah. And we thought we were getting like cooler ones because obviously all of our dads were car dads. So I was like, I'm going to have the fastest one. Yeah. And they made them all the same. They just looked different because the dads are all like, let's not kill them. And we ended up having so much fun. It was a key summer memory, and I still have that.
Core memory.
Yeah, and I just wonder, okay, we'll go into this council thing. Kids have gone, because kids' imaginations are still there, but they haven't lost their imaginations. Correct. They've gone, so it's basically vacant land, or it's like a little park area. Yeah. And it's muddy, so they've turned it into a bit of a ramp.
Yeah, someone's pushed together a bit of a ramp, bit of a hill.
Yeah, yep. And these kids are kids. They're just using their little BMXs to jump off and have a bit of fun. Yep. Now, I'll show you the video footage in a second. The ramp is like maybe 40 centimetres high. Yeah. It's not even big. Yeah. And it's just dirt. And apparently someone has hurt themselves. I'm like, well, if you're an idiot and you can't see where you're walking, that's on you, Yeah. But the point I want to make here is the kids want to be outside. Yeah. They don't want to be on their iPads and screens. But the problem is you're not allowing them to have fun anymore. Kids don't ride their bikes. They're not allowed to hang out with their friends. And then you wonder why youth crime's going through the roof.
Yeah, because they find that straitjacket intolerable. Yeah. And once they break out of it, well, then where do they stop? Yeah. Right. There isn't a healthy context in which to work out the testosterone and the risky behaviors and pushing your boundaries. There's no safe context for that.
And I would tie this into the YouTube ban as well, because someone like G, right? He fell in love with cars when he was a kid, and his next door neighbor got him into it. And he was 12, 13 years old, and saved up his pocket money, bought his first, shitbox car, but learnt to do it up. And then now he's got a career in motorsport. Yeah. And kids now they don't necessarily have the relationship with the neighbor across the road, unfortunately, but they do have YouTube. Yep. And on YouTube, you can find a video on anything your heart desires. Yep. And so you might be able to learn. So this young kid, a new version of G in 2025, could jump on YouTube and learn, so that's how you do that. Oh, okay, I'm going to go do that. But we want to ban that now. We don't want our kids to have that.
Worse, kids in marginal situations, kids where they might be subject to abuse that other adults in their life haven't identified yet or don't feel safe taking their questions to their parents, etc. YouTube was a place where people could go to explore, where people could go. I mean, I remember when I was a kid and I had questions I didn't want to ask my mum and dad. I went down to the library and I skulked around looking through trying to find the right section with the books, right? Now, I get it. There's a lot of nasty stuff out there on the internet. Parental controls, I think, are really important. If you've got kids in your household.
Can I just call you out on that? Yeah, there's some nasty stuff out there. I was a kid when the internet came out, and at 12, I was looking at rotten.com. Do you know what rotten.com is?
No.
Oh, come on.
No. Pass me by.
You little Christian boy.
I know, I don't
Guys, help me out in the comments. You know what rotten.com is. All right. It's on the Wayback Machine.
No, you're gonna, if you pull it up, we're going to get censored for sure by the sounds of it.
This is a right. What do you mean? This is a rite of passage. Oh my God. So rotten.com
I was too old and too cool.
Dude, my brother showed me this. And he also, so rotten.com, I'll bring up the Wikipedia. I won't bring up it's on the Wayback Machine. So it was basically, this is what it looked like, OG. And on there was just stuff it was a shock site. Stuff that you wouldn't normally get access to. So there was like Tupac's autopsy photos were on there.
Oh, right.
And murder crime scene photos and like all sorts of stuff. But also what was on there was the terrorist's handbook.
Oh, yes.
The
terrorist cookbook. The anarchist cookbook.
The anarchist cookbook. Yes, that's the one. And yes, we did make pipe bombs. I mean, no, I didn't. I never did that. I don't even know what a pipe bomb is.
And foam, never heard of her.
No.
Yeah.
I'm confessing all my sins. But yeah, so like, rotten.com was there in 1996.
Yeah, right.
Whilst I was looking at David Bowie singing Changes on Microsoft Encarta.
So you were 10.
I was also looking at rotten.com.
I was already 14. I wasn't that interested in that stuff. I was way past all the terrorist handbook making bombs. Nah, man, that's child's play.
Okay, I need to tell this story because it's funny. So we decided to learn a thing that required steel pipe and sparklers.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And we did the thing from the book.
And did it work as advertised?
Very loudly.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Turns out putting that in a house where the frame is up is not necessarily a good thing to do.
Right.
I didn't do it.
Okay. Yeah, no. But you've heard.
This is anecdotal.
Yeah, you've heard.
I know nothing about it.
So I had a friend across the street who used to be able to get wooden boxes, basically cigar boxes, but they were full of little penny bangers and little, red coloured paper wrapped little bombs, I guess, with little fuses on them. And I would bury them in the backyard, and I'd have to try and make sure the dirt wouldn't make the fuse go out. And I'd put little army men around them and blow up the army men and just like do army scenes in this little patch of dirt that we had in the backyard. And then I started putting them into things to see what would happen. So I had a couple of old model aeroplanes that I really had no love for. I'd built them years earlier. They were really badly put together. And so I sort of opened them up and shoved these little things inside and blew them up. And, it was never the Hollywood fireball. I was looking for something more spectacular. So I had the idea of putting quite a large one, into a Barocca tube. And it was almost the diameter of the Barocca tablets, to give you some idea. Like this was the biggest one I had.
Yeah.
And I dropped it into the tube. And I had to put the lid on and decide how tightly I was going to put it on, because I was afraid if I put it all the way on, it's going to stop the fuse from burning. So I just sort of tapped it on lightly in the theory that it would burn through.
Yeah.
I lit it inside the garage, and I just ducked around the garage wall, the end of the wall with the garage door open. And so I lit the fuse, ducked around, out of the way, me and a couple of friends, and nothing happened. And by then we'd blown up a lot, so we knew how long it should take. And this was way too long. And then I said, I'm going to go and get it. And my mate said, no, it's too soon. I'm like, no, it has to have gone out. Like, it would have blown up or it's gone out, one or the other. Well, what I think must have been happening was that the heat, it was slowly still burning its way past that little pressure point where the heat was bleeding through, and it was just keeping it going, but it was obviously much slower than what it would naturally have been. And thankfully, as I get around the corner, I heard the start again. And I had just enough time to like stop in my tracks, turn around, get my head down and my hands over my ears. And I'm not sure if I was back behind the wall or not when it went bang. I'm not quite sure. But it went bang. My back was turned, so I didn't see it go bang. We never found the lid. And the tube had been essentially unrolled, because it's like a diagonal ribbon of aluminium going upwards up the can. It had basically just been, it was a ribbon of aluminium can that thankfully didn't hit me either. And at that point I went, maybe this stuff I'm playing with is a little more dangerous than I thought, you know?
Do you know when we were kids in Japan, fireworks they weren't illegal back then.
Yeah.
And so we used to have, that old yellow and green swing set that we all had?
Oh, yeah.
We had one of those in Japan, and it was on the balcony, and Dad used to put all the fireworks on there. And like, I'm talking massive, proper American style fireworks. And we just sit there as kids watching Dad light those off and
bang, bang, bang. Oh, yeah. I remember the last bonfire night. So there was a big, like a civic pipeline behind my house, underground pipes, gas and sewerage mains and all that sort of stuff. And it created this stretch of green ribbon through suburbia. And that was directly behind my house growing up. And so we'd play out there all the time. We played cricket. We did everything out there. And I can remember I can only remember one instance of this, and it was I'm being told that this is the last time it would ever happen, where the neighbourhood just piled on to a massive bonfire, basically directly behind my garage, in that green area. And then being out there, the bonfire got lit, fireworks everywhere. I think because everyone knew it was the last time, a lot of people kind of went nuts.
Yeah, okay.
And it was a spectacular night. And I don't remember how old I was, but it was a fantastic night. And I remember the sadness that I had as a child of sitting there going, why can't we do this again?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, this is an amazing, all the neighbours are out, all the parents, all the kids having a great time.
Yeah.
Why can't we do this?
Yeah, that's sad. Do you know what happens when you put, I think it's sodium hydride in water?
Not off the top of my head, no.
It explodes.
I was going to say, generally sodium-based compounds react very violently to water, yeah?
My favourite subject at high school was chemistry.
Ooh, okay.
Not necessarily because I wanted to be a chemist, but because we had the best teacher. His name was Mr. Blake, and he divulged things that maybe teachers shouldn't. And
excellent.
Of all the kids, they never suspected it was me. It was me. So one day he gets some, it's sodium hydride, I think. He gets some of that and he puts it in water and you get this like, boom. I was like, and then in the jar that he pulls this tiny little bit out, there's this big block of it. And I was like, what happens if you put that in the bin? I won't tell you what happened next. But yeah, so I learned some important things from Mr. Blake.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be, for a moment there, I wanted to be a pharmacist, and then I realised it was a bit more boring.
Oh yeah, but no, pharmacy and chemistry are not the same thing. I mean, you can play with some fun stuff if you've ever seen Breaking Bad.
The people from ASIO who watch and listen to our podcast are like, we were onto the right one. We know.
Yeah, that's right. That's 50% of our audience. 50% of our views.
Absolutely a terrorist.
It's just like various intelligence assets around the world going, I got to keep an eye on these ones.
This Carlz, any minute now.
I tell you what.
So yeah, that was the story. That's
excellent.
Yeah. Do you want to watch this ABC thing now? We've talked about it.
Not really, no.
Okay,
we've talked about it.
So, all right, what else have we got on here? Where are we
Let
at?
kids be kids. Let kids have fun. Let them hurt themselves from time to time.
Let them scab up their knees.
And stop suing each other over bullshit. It's just ridiculous, and you're ruining this country.
Well, it's because people are mad. People aren't happy anymore. Have you noticed that? The reason people are suing is either because they can or they're just mad. And
I think it's opportunism, though.
Yeah.
Like it's that they see dollar signs.
Yeah, well, that and it's just to prove a point. Like we used to look at our neighbours as friends, and I mean, COVID showed us that that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
I was lucky when I was in COVID. Down where I am, people weren't dobbing on each other.
Yeah.
Not in my street anyway.
Well, until you got doxxed.
Well, yeah, I was coming and going all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, no, it wasn't. No,
you were a goody two shoes.
I stayed at home and definitely in my 5K.
Yes.
Can I get in trouble for years after?
I don't know. I've stopped caring. Everyone knows I was a dissident. I didn't follow the rules.
Yeah.
Come at me.
Come at me.
Yeah.
So this has happened today. I'm just going to pull it up. Jacinta Allen's government has blocked the Working with Children's check overhaul.
Yeah.
So, discuss.
Well, so I did some work with a very, very large charity organisation some years ago. I worked with them for a couple of years on a couple of different projects, and I got to know some of the people inside very well. And if I said the name of the organisation, you'd instantly recognise it. It is a global organisation, very respected in Australia, hundreds of millions of dollars in everything from real estate to government grants to donations, tens of thousands of members and volunteers around Australia. And in my role with them, we occasionally worked with children. It was in video production. And occasionally you had children in the, And so they would talk about the working with children checks that you had to get. And of course I had to get one, all the rest of it. And they called them a haven't been caught yet. And that was just the general, that was literally, they would use that interchangeably with working with children check. We're talking about who we're going to get on set. But has she got her haven't been caught yet? And we all knew exactly what that meant. Right. So the working with children check system is a known joke.
Yeah.
It is an open joke. And given what's been revealed recently, which is the context in which people were even trying to get it overhauled in the first place, Jacinta Allen is proving yet again, as if we needed any more evidence, that she actually just doesn't care.
Is this political game playing? So they've obviously the Liberal Party has put together a bill and then Labor's voted it down. Is that what it is?
I don't know the details on this one. Yeah, no, I don't know the details on this one. I literally came across it this morning when it was voted down.
I was just searching this and this is tangent number 2 of the podcast.
Tangent time, tangent time, tangent time.
Can you read that?
Katy Perry's cozy date with Justin Trudeau. Oh my. Oh my.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
They're so insufferable alone. Imagine them to get off.
Yeah, look, good on them. They're perfect for each other.
Oh,
let them enjoy.
Orlando Bloom's like, phew.
Oh, yeah, thank God I got out of that one. Yeah, I mean, look, why wouldn't someone like Katy Perry want to be in the Castro family? That makes perfect sense to me.
You know, they can live happily ever after in Cuba.
Yeah.
You know, living out his grandfather's legacy.
Yeah, that's right.
I was trying to find this thing, and there's a lot. There's so much. The working with children's check, I think it's disgusting. Okay, here I found the article. So,
all right, what's going on?
So, I'm gonna have to link on.
So the opposition.
Here we go. This is why I keep my subscription so that we can read the articles together. Okay, the opposition has accused the government of being more interested in politics than protecting Victorian kids after a move to strengthen the working with children's check system was voted down. Jacinta Allen has voted to block a bid by the state opposition to introduce new legislation to overhaul Victoria's embattled working with children's check. They blocked the introduction of the Workers' Screen Amendment Bill, and the government's MPs hit back saying a review into the system was already well underway. Of course, everything is a review.
It's a review.
Everything is just a consultant away.
Yeah, correct.
From sweeping it under the rug.
I'm actually working on a video on exactly this issue because we know about the $300 million the Victorian government has spent on consultants and reviews, etc., to do with treaty. We also, I've seen this when I was doing videos about the water issues, the number of consultations, the number of reviews that were done into water and the impact of the Water Act on blah, blah, blah. And all that ever happened was that the community were placated or told to wait, and then the outcome was always whatever the government wanted it to be. And the reason why I'm doing a video on it is because we've just had the announcement yesterday, from the Prime Minister that YouTube won't be exempt from the under-16s ban. You know why? Because he's following the advice of the E-Safety Commissioner, right? Outsourcing responsibility. We saw it all through COVID. We've seen it time and time again.
An unelected bureaucrat.
Yep.
Who's American, is she not?
Who is American. And if we're doing if we're looking into it already, there's already an inquiry, what have you. Well, you just have to wait. Let the process play out. Don't rush things. You have to wait and see. Let the process, do its thing. And we can't act. Now, in this particular case, again, I'm going to be that person who's always quite cautious with this stuff. Maybe it was a terrible bill that was being proposed. Maybe it didn't actually solve the problems. I don't know. I'm not in here going, hey, they should have passed that bill. But there are some pretty glaring problems with the working with children's system as it is at the moment. And given that Jacinta Allen keeps promising us things like tougher bail laws and they never quite materialise.
That's my next topic.
Sorry, but I don't trust her when she says, but we're looking into the working with children's check.
I just want to physically assault the person who's running Jacinta Allen.
Metaphorically, physically
allegedly
assault. Yeah.
The people running her social media team, because she posted on X, and I'm going to pull it up, breaking, the toughest bail laws in the country. Hang on, what's her name? Jacinta.
With apologies to Jacinta Price, people with Jacinta as their name, Jacinta Ardern and Jacinta Allen, with apologies to Price. What is with that? What is with that name?
So she wrote, here we go, we're strengthening Victoria's bail laws and introducing an even tougher bail test to stop reoffending and keep people safe. To which I responded, is that after the judge has just released a criminal on a refugee visa who has 400 plus charges and has been bailed over 50 times? Just genuinely curious why you hate your own constituents so much, Jacinta.
Now, on the one hand, if it was actually true that was actually happening, then great. Finally, we're seeing some action. But how many times has she said we're doing this and nothing's changed?
Even today, I think it was an article, I screenshot it and I sent it to you. And it was basically saying that here we go. The Attorney General can't say when the toughest bail laws in the nation will take effect. So we're going to have the laws.
Yep.
They're not working now.
Yep.
So don't worry, they're coming, but they're not.
Yep.
They're not actually working.
Yep.
This is all this government does, and this is no longer about Liberal, Labor, left, right. It's just sheer incompetence. They don't want to fix it.
I have a solution. Use the Permanent Pandemic Powers Bill that Daniel Andrews gave himself. Declare a pandemic of criminal violent assaults and use those powers to incarcerate for 2 years without charge, without contact with their family and without legal representation, anyone who is suspected of committing an assault. I mean, hey, if Daniel Andrews thought that those powers were acceptable to use against anyone who refused to get jabbed or wanted to participate in peaceful protest, I can't see why they wouldn't want to use it against actual violent criminals.
Don't be ridiculous. Let's listen to Jacinta in her own words.
Oh, please.
Today in the Victorian Parliament, but also a very important one, as we've introduced new legislation to take the tough new bail laws we have here in Victoria and make them even tougher.
Sorry.
Don't. I'm going to scream.
So what she said, we already have tough new bail laws.
The tough bail laws we already have.
That's right.
You mean the tough ones that allow my home to get aggravatedly burgled? You mean how my car was broken into and I have lost almost $30,000 worth of my photography equipment? Those laws?
It's not about you, Carly. Think about that poor 14-year-old who only got a fraction of what your camera gear was worth when he sold it on the second-hand market.
But it's all right. He got to buy booze, he got to buy cigarettes, and to buy chocolate with my money.
That is a hard way to make a living. That is a hard way to make a living. Now, but can I point out, she's admitted failure here. What she's saying is we've already got tough new bail laws. She's not talking about the old ones. She's talking about ones that she's already brought in, new ones.
That aren't currently in play.
Well, no, and we're making them tougher. Play it again. Listen to the language.
Hi everyone. It was a big day today in the Victorian Parliament, but also a very important one, as we've introduced new legislation to take the tough new bail laws we have here in Victoria and make them even tougher.
Stop.
We've done this.
So the tough new bail laws we have here in Victoria, well, why do you have to make them tougher?
Yeah.
Because clearly what you've already done isn't working, right? So she's actually built into that sentence an admission of failure.
Yeah.
What we did already isn't working. Now, quite frankly, I don't think what she's doing now is going to work either. I don't think that she actually wants it to work.
What is I just want to listen to the rest of it. What are the new laws? Like, what is it?
Because we've been listening to victims of crime, understanding the Victorians.
Do you feel listened to?
I can tell you now that through the Victims of Crime program, so it was a brand new program they brought out, and I am number 416, right? So of the people.
Okay.
Do you know what that's now up to?
417?
It's now in the high 30,000s. I still...
Sorry, five digits, 30,000s.
Yes, I still have not been approved. I got an email from Victims of Crime about a month ago saying, your application is being processed. We're looking at it. I put it in November.
So if you're 416 and you still haven't been approved, then number 30,000 can expect to be approved at around about the same time that we colonise Mars.
No, I reckon they've probably Googled my name.
No, don't flatter yourself.
No, you
they're
don't
just
reckon?
that incompetent.
I'm literally 400th or like 412 or whatever it is in the queue. Actually, I'll take this off and I'll pull up the email as we're talking. But the thing about these bail laws, they're not working. We know they're not working because literally a week ago, the magistrate let out the kid with all the charges.
So the 400 charges had been dropped previously because of his age.
Yeah.
He has since reoffended so many times that he has hundreds more charges, and the magistrate let him out with the statement that there's no point imposing any kind of community corrections orders because we know that he won't obey them.
Yeah.
Now, any ignoramuses like you and I, Carly, would think that if you know someone will not obey bail restrictions, then that's a really good reason to not release them on bail. That's a really good reason to remand them in custody because you know that they're not going to follow the bail conditions. But thank God for genius magistrates who know better.
All right, so I'm going to read you this email. I'll just blank out the bits that...
don't put it on screen.
Yeah. Hi, Carly. I want to reach out and thank you for your patience whilst you wait for your application to be assessed. I acknowledge that your application was submitted some time ago. Please know we will assess it as soon as possible. Once the assessment has been completed, you will receive a notification via the FAS portal. If you have any questions, let me know. To which I reply, Ashley, it was submitted November 24. It's now July 25. This is unfathomable. I've given up lodging or claiming anything because it's impossible to talk to anyone, let alone get a response or get reimbursed. And quite frankly, this whole process is far more traumatizing than the actual aggravated burglary. Yes, I'm being hyperbolic, but I don't care. To which she replies, "Hi, Carly. I acknowledge that it has been a lengthy wait for you, and I am sorry to hear how awaiting the outcome of your application has impacted you." Are you though, Ashley? I don't think you give a fuck. The interim assistance provided is designed to meet more immediate needs whilst awaiting your main application to be assessed. Now, of the immediate needs that we have, it was security cameras, the electrician to install them, and all of which got rejected.
Yeah. Yeah, wow.
So we're going to give you immediate assistance, but the stuff that you want assistance for, we'll reject it.
We'll reject, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. She goes on to say, we also need to obtain the necessary documentation for applications to be assessed, including information from Victoria Police. I've provided you all that. I've given you all that. Please know that your application will be assessed as soon as possible.
Your call is important to us. Please hold.
I'm sorry, but we live in a state where almost 10 months after the crime, they haven't even started the paperwork.
Yeah. But we live in a state where you can bleed out because you're lying on the floor bleeding for 3 hours after you call an ambulance.
Yeah. But don't worry, they'll fine you for being an extra 6 minutes over your stay in a parking spot.
Yeah, they can anything that makes them money, they've got all the resources in the world for. This is what a failed state looks like. This is where we are now. Now, I would argue there should be no victims of crime compensation coming from the government. The victims of crime compensation should come from the criminals. It should come from them being hunted down.
The problem is they're 14 and they've never worked a day in their life.
Sure. And so that's and you know, now we can go into the fact that the people who broke into your house were probably onto their 10th crime. They've probably been caught and released a dozen times already, etc. So if we actually dealt with them the first time we got them, then we wouldn't have a lot of these repeat crimes.
Yeah.
But the taxpayers should not be on the hook for taxpayer-funded victims of crime compensation, in my opinion. Partly because, as a matter of principle, it's not theirs to pay, but secondly, because the churn, the amount of waste, for the actual amount of compensation that actually reaches victims, that is actually effective in relieving their suffering in any meaningful way, for every dollar that actually does that, I guarantee you $10 have been spent in the process, in the overhead, in the gargantuan bureaucracy that's now involved in all of this. So it's terrible value for money. And when you have a process that is as flawed and broken as this one, it ends up becoming its own source of further frustration and, quite frankly, an insult to the victims of crime.
I would agree. And the only reason we went after it is because I got burgled the second time. Yeah. And I was like, fuck this. Like, I can't wear those costs. And I think I said before, like, to get the insurance for all my gear, everything has to be itemized because anything over $1,000, if it's not listed, they don't cover you for it. So my camera alone is worth about $6,000. Each lens is worth
That's just the body.
That's just the body. Each lens is worth between $3,000 and $4,000. My laptop's worth about $8,000. So if I don't name the model and everything, and so I've since done it because I'm terrified it'll happen again. If it does, I'm done. But my insurance is costing me almost $300 a month just to make sure when I get burgled, because it will probably happen again, I can at least like replace the things I need for my job. I shouldn't have to live in a world like that. This is fucked.
Do you remember why my wife reached out to you the very first time before we'd ever spoken before? Do you remember why that happened?
No.
It was during COVID, and it was during, we had some of the early lockdowns, and then we kind of came out and people were working again. And my wife had found your work on Instagram, I think it was, and she really liked it. You're an amazing photographer. Even back then, you're even better now, but even back then, you were already a really good photographer. And she was just following your work because she liked it. She just liked looking at it. And she was thinking that, hey, maybe we should get Carly to do some family photos for us. And then you posted up a post saying that you dropped your 70 to 200 lens.
I didn't drop it. My friend dropped it.
Okay. What I knew is that it got dropped, and that it was broken and wasn't serviceable, and
during lockdown,
and understanding the difficulty of the times that we were in, and the fact that we were very lucky because Edwina's, my wife's business is online. She was already set up to do it online before COVID came along, so she was able to keep working through all of that, and that was a very fortuitous, a very blessed position to be in, and we didn't take that for granted at all. My wife came to me with the suggestion that we book a family shoot with you and pay in advance.
Yeah.
And I looked at the price and I said, actually, that's not going to cover that lens. I know that lens. I do this stuff as well. Yeah. I know that lens. What if we book a double shoot? pay in advance, and that will buy a new lens.
I do remember this
Carly.
now. Yeah.
And so we did
that.
Because
I was like, because I sent her the quote and she's like, no, we want to get 2 of them. I was like, why? You're only one family.
Yeah.
I was very confused.
Yeah, so that you could buy that lens.
Yeah.
That was explicitly
Guys,
why we did it.
See? And now look at us.
Yep, now look at us.
Yeah.
And that was what made the contact. And then you came and photographed us.
Yep.
And I've told that story before, how I was like, oh, she seems a bit too cavalier, a bit too relaxed. And
it seems like she's going to be shit.
Well, no, but just a bit too cavalier. You were moving on too quickly. And then I looked over your shoulder as you were photographing my wife, and I went, oh, actually, no, these are really nice photos. And they were. And aside
from that, which was very touching, like, I don't think people realize, like, I'm in a difficult position because prior to lockdown, I had the liquidated company, and I don't blame anyone for that. That's its own thing.
Yeah.
It just so happened that I liquidated and then literally we went into lockdown. That was not anticipated. And to be honest, I probably wouldn't have, if I had known the pandemic was coming, I wouldn't have liquidated.
Sure.
Because I would have been able to turn that company around during lockdown for sure.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But, so creatives, they've had 2 years of lockdown, intermittent work, and now they're in a cost of living crisis and small businesses are shutting shop.
Yep.
There are so many people who are being impacted constantly, and it's the same people. Now, obviously, people be like, photography, you're not going to make money. It's not just photography. It's across the board. So many small businesses, hospitality venues, those kind of industries that were shut down because of lockdown, and now people aren't spending because of the cost of living.
Yep.
It's the same people being hit, and you wonder why people are jaded and leaving.
And you commented that you were in a vulnerable position when lockdowns hit because you had just liquidated the company, etc. At any given moment in time, a percentage of the population is going to be vulnerable. Anytime you do something like the lockdowns, you are going to destroy. That is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back for a lot of people. But the same is actually true for every single thing that adds costs.
Yeah.
Every single one of these new taxes that Jacinta Allen has brought in Victoria, every new regulation, every new little thing that they add on to our farmers, for a proportion of the farmers, that's the thing. This is what economists refer to as being at the margins.
Well, your profits shrinking down, and you've talked about the supermarkets. Everyone's like, they're price gouging, but they're trading on a 2 or 3% margin if they're lucky.
They're not price gouging. Yep.
But it doesn't matter. We've got a community of people who see the haves and the haves not, and if they don't have, they want.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't matter. So in their mind, they're hearing that the CEO of Woolies is getting, $8 million.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that's what all our money.
Yeah.
That, you're charging them $9 for butter, but you can pay the CEO $8. I understand why they think that way.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily agree that CEOs should necessarily get such high wages. I would argue that they should be fairly compensated. But there is a level here where people in those positions, it really doesn't look good when the politicians are getting yet another pay rise.
Yeah.
Now, again, I will always argue that you should be paid what you're worth. I believe in capitalist society. I believe that you should be able to, there shouldn't be a glass ceiling on what you earn. But when you have a very destabilized economy like we have, and you have people who are significantly disadvantaged, and the people who are on the government teat, so you Jacinta Allen, who just got yet another pay rise, it doesn't look good.
So public sentiment is very much driven by whether today is better than yesterday or not. If it's actually not so much about whether there are poor people. Relatively speaking, there will always be people who are poor relative to the people around them. That is always dynamic is always going to exist. But if their today is better than their yesterday, then there's very unlikely to be trouble. And if every day their life gets better, then there's very unlikely to be trouble, no matter how rich the rich get. Where the trouble kicks in is when today is worse for poor people or for anyone than what yesterday was. And very quickly the envy kicks in, which is one of the reasons I think why socialists and the likes of our Prime Minister Albo and others, they actually introduce all these policies that hurt people, that drive up the cost of living, because it means that today is harder than what yesterday was, which means that their politics of envy works.
Yeah.
They can preach that message and it connects with people so much more than what it would if they actually stayed out of the way and everyone's lives were still getting slowly better.
Yeah. Well, this is why this whole thing with Jacinta Allen talking about tough bail laws and whatever, I don't think Victoria's ever going to turn around in the next couple of years. I just don't see it possible because you've got people who will sycophantically cheer on the Labor Party and will vote Labor no matter what, even though she is unequivocally incapable of doing her job. She is overpaid significantly. She's the highest paid premier in the country. And the state is declining. So for reference, I put up on my Instagram stories that I'm moving to Queensland. I cannot believe, and when I say unprecedented, like I normally get, a few hundred messages a day. This was like, whoa. I walked into an avalanche of people messaging me. Mostly of people saying, amazing, I'm so happy for you. So many people saying, we did the same thing. It'll be the best thing you ever did. Get out of Victoria. And then I had people saying, oh, I wish we could go. I really want to go. I did not have a single person that was like, why? Why would you leave?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, like of the people that follow me, maybe no one agrees or maybe like they didn't say anything, but everyone I speak to, and not just me, when he's speaking to his clients and he's talking to other people who own businesses, everyone is saying the same thing. We're getting out.
Yeah. So, and there is a percentage of people that say, oh, you got to stay and fight, blah, blah, blah. And I've talked a lot about that with Venezuela and what I saw, and that completely changed my view on all of that. But I'm actually noticing a real lack of those people now because I post comments about leaving Australia. Not that I'm planning to right now, but it's an option that I hold open for the future. Certainly flag planting and diversifying your life across multiple political jurisdictions. I won't go into the details on that, but second passports, offshoring businesses, these sorts of things. And I haven't done any of that yet, but I'm learning about it and I'm working towards it. I have every intention of doing that in due course. And what I'm not getting anymore are people saying, no, you have to stay and fight. No one's that particular piece of feedback seems to have evaporated. That's gone.
I think people realize this. Like some of the messages I was reading this morning before you came in, people just saying like, the only reason we're staying here is for the kids, yada, yada, yada. Guys, kids are pretty resilient. Sure, they don't want to leave their friends, but they've got, well, they probably won't have social media after this, but do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's a good enough reason anymore. Someone messaged me this morning saying, oh, both my husband and I want to go, but our 18-year-old doesn't want to leave her boyfriend. I'm like, that seems like a really silly reason to stay. I get it. But do you know what I mean?
And it's difficult. Everyone's family situation is different, but honestly, leave for your kids. Show them that the world is actually their home, not just this place. I'm sorry, but you can say what you want, but all you have to do is look at any country that's actually gone deep into the collapse. Zimbabwe, Venezuela, South Africa is an example right now. Do you begrudge people leaving South Africa right now? And you're like, no, you should have stayed and fought for your country. No, we're like, hey, I get it. Come on over. So long as you're going to pay your own way, work your job, you run your business, whatever it is you're going to do to add value, welcome, come on over. And the reality is we have to accept that if Australia is going down the path that it really does look like it's going down, and if the voting public are going to continue to vote for it, which at the moment it really looks like they will. I mean, new polling just came out. Labor apparently has a 54% approval rating amongst men and a 59% approval rating amongst women, which obviously shows you that the Liberal Party putting a woman in charge as Susan Ley as the opposition leader has worked wonders for their vote amongst women. So it looks like at the moment we're going to get at least one more term of a Labor government federally. It looks like at the moment we're going to get at least one more term of a Labor government in Victoria, because the polling for the Liberals is not good, and that's extraordinary given how clumsily Jacinta Allen is mishandling this state.
This is what I mean, that they're not just losing. Like, this is an unlosable election, and you're still going to lose it. I don't understand.
This should be an absolute shoo-in. So the reality that we are looking at is that if you're staying for your kids, actually you should probably be leaving for your kids.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I thought I'd start telling people now that I'm moving up, because obviously in the industry I'm in, I need to make some connections and talk to people and, get the ball rolling. And G's approaching it a totally different way. He's like, I'm just going to just chill out for a little bit. I'm like, and you can.
Good.
And he deserves it.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I've got to meet people and where am I going to go? And interestingly, I've had people say like, there's so many people who are like-minded up here now. Queensland is very much on the same page.
Huge. Hundreds of thousands of Victorians have gone up there.
Yeah, and I find it really interesting. I think I mentioned this on, was it Monday or last week, where I was saying how we're seeing a great divide, kind of like, California versus Texas. Are we going to have Queensland versus Victoria? Sydney, I don't know where it's going to go. Sydney doesn't look great at the moment. But, and hopefully, I mean, I don't necessarily think the Liberal Party are the saviours in Queensland, but they're definitely better than Palaszczuk.
Sure.
And they are making inroads. And sure, like there's crime because people saying, Carly, don't think that there's no youth crime up here. There's definitely youth crime.
Oh,
of course, I get it. But Victoria is only going to get so much worse because it's still not affecting people enough. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, I'll go through this one more time because there will be people listening to this podcast that haven't heard me touch on this before. Victoria is the California of Australia, and I'm very specifically meaning it is now a one-party state. And the reason why a one-party state is a problem is because for as long as there's two parties that are viable potential election winners, you win elections by appealing to the middle. You win elections by appealing to the people that are in between the positions held by the two parties. Once one party winning is a given, like the Democrats in California, and I would argue like Labor in Victoria, then it's no longer about appealing to the centrist voters and making sure you're staying in touch with what the public want. The only game now is rising to the top of your party. And that's not about appealing to the middle, that's about appealing to the factions. And often being more extreme is what gives you a stronger position in the factional battles internally within the parties themselves. And so what you've got, as soon as a state goes from being a two-party state to being a one-party state, now you are going to end up with an increasingly extreme head of state.
Yeah.
Because the way you win in that situation is by being the most extreme.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. I wanted to bring this story up. This is the poor man who had his hand cut off.
Oh, yeah.
So just to be clear, it wasn't completely severed in the attack.
Yeah, but they had to amputate
it.
Yeah.
But it was basically just hanging on by, a little bit.
Yeah.
So he's come out slamming the government.
Yeah.
And I just want to read his comments because I'll just read this article quickly. Yeah. An innocent man who almost lost his hand in the alleged teenage machete rampage says the Allen government has fallen short in protecting the community from violent crime. 4 teens allegedly set upon Surad Arnard, 33, on his visit to his pharmacy at Central Square Shopping Centre in Altona. His alleged attackers, all aged 14 and 15, slashed his left hand so violently he nearly had it amputated.
It had to be amputated.
It had to be amputated.
Yeah.
It didn't get severed in the attack.
Yeah.
Despite that, the Allen government on Tuesday morning moving to introduce to Parliament new laws to make it harder for courts to bail repeat offenders. Mr. Arnard said the government needed to do more to support him and other victims of knife crime. I agree. I wonder how long he's going to be on the victims of crime waiting list.
Gosh.
Do you know what I mean? I wonder if he'll get bumped up because he had his hand amputated.
And media coverage, etc., might make them,
And then they're probably like, oh, we better touch that case because,
Yeah, exactly.
And he's written, as a man in this community, I am doing my part by going to work, paying my taxes to help them, the government, build a better and safer state. I would urge the government to do their job. I've been working here for 7 years and paying my taxes to the government, but there is no apparent ability from the government to support me on this now. The government has to support those victims who have been affected by these attacks.
Or how about we support people by reducing the number of victims by dealing with the criminals that have already committed crimes?
Yeah. And he's written, he said, how is it that I was still in hospital and I see that my attackers are already out in the open? Where is the accountability for attacking someone? What are the consequences?
Imagine the fear. Imagine just knowing that when you're in hospital, you're missing an arm, they're already out on bail.
And worse than that, talk about a migrant issue. He arrived in Australia from India in 2018 for work, lives a 5-minute walk from the shopping centre. He faces having to renew his visa, due to expire in less than a month, and attend doctor's appointments while recovering from his injuries.
Wow.
Like, we just genuinely just don't give a fuck about people, do we? We just do not care.
Well, no. And if you want to know, if you think it's bad being a migrant in a rich country or being disabled in a rich country or being poor in a rich country, try being disabled or a migrant or poor in a poor country. And that's what we're doing. We're bankrupting ourselves. And the level of negligence and neglect. And do you remember there was a little while there where a couple of different incidents went viral of people basically neglecting each other in China. It was this little internet craze that went wild for a little while there. Someone gets hit by a car, it's caught on CCTV and kind of thrown to the side of the road.
Yeah.
The car drives on and people just step over them and walk past.
Yeah.
An abandoned baby, people just step over and walk past, that sort of thing. That choice to ignore the plight of others is a survival mechanism that kicks in when you are in survival mode.
Yes.
When you are desperate, okay? You or I might never ignore an injured person on the side of the road under normal circumstances. But if we were in a village that was being assaulted during the Second World War in France and we were getting out with our families, we would potentially run straight past that person because we're in survival mode.
There's no better example than that when you think about the Holocaust. And I can't remember the name they gave them, but the person whose job it was to be in charge of the barracks. Right. So within the Jewish people that were put into Auschwitz, there was one of them that was then elevated to a higher level, and it starts with S, I believe. I can't remember the term, which is they are in charge of their barracks. Right. And so they became a monster because that was their means of survival. Yeah. Then they got a little bit more rations. Yeah. And then there would be discussions in the morning, like this is heavy stuff, but where in the morning they'd see who survived the night and then the people who died. It was the Jewish people's job to then grab their bodies and take them down to the chambers and things like that. Like you get to a point when people are pushed so far, something in you breaks and you no longer have empathy. You don't have that humanity anymore.
But this is also, it's a part of the survival of any level of tyranny. So if you jump into the Old Testament, in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 8, where the children of Israel go to the prophet Samuel and they say, hey, we want a king. God actually, through the prophet Samuel, says, well, this is what's going to happen if you get a king. The king's going to levy 10% taxes on you, and he's going to spend that money hiring captains that he will appoint over you. And they will get grain, and they will get wine, and they will get this, and they will get that. This is exactly the mechanism. Yeah. So they say, right, I want to hold power, but if all of the people rise up against me, I'm powerless because there's only one of me. So I need people on my side. How do I get people on my side? Yeah. I steal from the people at the bottom, and I reward the people in that middle level that are the buffer between me and them. Yeah. In modern Australia, that's bureaucrats, that's police, all the different enforcement agencies and arms, and now it's also people on welfare. Yep. Right? They're all now paid buffers between the people in power and the people who are unhappy. Yeah.
It's just,
fun times. Do you remember being a kid and reading books about like historical events? And when you actually think about it, like really horrible stuff, usually, a heroic story is usually told in the context of some terrible things happening. And you're reading going, oh, wouldn't it be so exciting to live through times like that? Well, we are. Yeah. And it hits different. Yeah, it doesn't quite feel the same.
It's funny you say that. I literally was watching a movie around the Boleyn sisters, Anne Boleyn.
Yeah, Boleyn, yeah.
Yeah, and the real story, not the Hollywood version, like what actually happened. Yeah. And I'm like, fuck.
Oh, yeah. History is awful.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. But unfortunately, the young generation's never going to learn about history because they're now going to be banned.
Oh, thank God. Thank God that my son will no longer be able to beg me to watch Unspeakable videos or Mr. Beast. Yeah. Because he'll be banned.
Yeah. How dare they learn anything about anything that their parents might not be able to teach them.
So the censorship is one issue. The digital ID, the fact that in order to know who is 16, we have to know the age of everybody. So everyone now has to go through this process in December, I think it comes in. And by the way, it's not too late to head this off. This we can't just sit back and go, oh, well, it's going to happen now. No, we need to be fighting tooth and nail against this all the way through. VPN use is obviously going to skyrocket, but in the UK, we're basically following the UK on a lot of this stuff. With
VPNs, is there a way the government can stop you using a VPN?
So they're talking about banning them in the UK, and what they'll do is obviously they'll ban it at a legislative level, and when you use a VPN, your ISP, your internet service provider, can tell that you're using a VPN. Yeah. They can't see what's in the data stream, but they can see that it's a VPN data stream. And of course, your ISP has your address. They know who you are because you've got an account with them. And so it'd be essentially a reporting thing where now what's interesting is, excuse me, not even China does that. Yeah. Right? If you've got a VPN inside of China, like they make it hard to get VPNs, but people don't kick your door down for using a VPN in China. The UK may very well become the first jurisdiction, probably outside of North Korea, that will come hunting you down. Actually, probably not even North Korea because I don't even have internet access over there to be able to use a VPN. So we could see the criminalising of VPNs here in Australia. They're talking about it in the UK right now. This is a really, really, really serious, really dark time. But more than that, even, is that this is a continuation of the government claiming ownership of everything, including your children. Yeah. You are no longer qualified to decide how and when your child will access social media and the internet. Yeah. You don't get to make that decision. What I guarantee is going to happen here is the same thing that I talked about when this was first proposed 1-2 years ago, whenever it was. A brand new social media platform that finds a way to circumvent all of this and lets anybody have an account is going to become explosively popular amongst young people it will be a Wild West situation where predators will run rampant because we've just literally collected all the kids into one place for them. And the situation in the end is going to be far, far worse than the problem that they're trying to solve right now.
Well, this is the problem. I mean, we're seeing this in plenty of different things. Most notably, the tobacco wars. As soon as you ban something, you create a black market.
As soon as you ban something that people want.
Yeah.
That's the key. If there's demand and you ban it, there is an instant black market.
The thing about social media, like, there's some shit on there. I agree. But that comes down to parenting your kids. It really does.
Yep.
And people will go, oh, well, parents aren't parenting the kids. Well, why aren't we addressing that? And why aren't we enticing parents to go back into the home?
And by the way, if you're sitting there saying, oh, but parents aren't parenting their kids, maybe that's got something to do with the fact that we've criminalized most of the forms of parenting that have worked for thousands of years. Like, maybe let's have a conversation about that.
This is the issue. Like, we're all good at pointing out there's a problem, but the solutions to them are always like 5 steps away from the actual problem.
Yeah.
Well,
it's because we're looking at the symptoms.
Yeah.
And the problem is very rarely the thing that directly caused that particular symptom.
Yeah.
The problem is usually a few steps away, like you said.
Like, you can't parent your kids anymore. You can't tell them off. You can't admonish them. The kids can go straight to, CPS and dob you in.
If you were out in public and you gave one of your kids a proper dressing down, not even touch them, you just actually gave them a proper dressing down and put them in their place and reminded them that they are the kid.
Yeah.
Someone's going to call the cops on you.
100%.
Yeah.
I think my point is that I've said this before. We deserve socialism. I think we deserve this. Like, I told you I just reread 1984.
Yeah.
The contrast is scary.
Yeah.
We're already there.
Yeah.
We are self-policing by the way we speak. Mm-hmm. We are gaslighting each other to believe something that's fundamentally false.
Yep.
You are no longer able to divulge the truth because it's seen as inflammatory or impacting someone. You are being told that the 14-year-old that can cut off someone's hand with a machete is more important. We need to consider their feelings than the person who's had their arm amputated.
And you no longer own yourself. And you are no longer a parent of your children. You're just a temporary custodian for as long as you only do the things that you've been approved by the government to do.
I saw a really interesting article, and this is tangent number 3, and I'm probably not going to be able to find it. Actually, I will be able to find it.
Tangent time.
So it was there's a page I follow called Fashion Journal, and they are, like everything in Melbourne, left-leaning.
Of course.
But this sort of stemmed something that I thought about. So if I can find her article.
Why is it looking at me?
What
there
is
we
looking?
go. It's just, it was just looking at me while I got a drink instead of looking at you while you were talking.
So these pages are prolific with how much they post. So I've got to find it. Oh, here we go. So essentially it's talking about this Indian woman is saying that people want to use parts of her culture, the parts that they love, but then disregard all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So she said, you don't get to wear the beauty if you ignore the burden. And so she talks about this particular thing. On Sundays, my mum would warm coconut oil and massage it through my scalp. Part ritual, part love language. On Mondays, I'd walk into school hoping my oiled hair went unnoticed. It never did. Greasy is what they'd say. That sting of being different, of feeling othered, followed me for years. Now I'm a mother myself, watching the same oiling ritual repackaged as a miracle treatment, having a moment on TikTok. Salon giants and influencer-driven brands are touting expensive growth elixirs and oils, marketing the practice as something new, when in fact it's been around for centuries. It's a story all too familiar. Practices I was once taught to feel ashamed of, like hair oiling, threading, turmeric masks, and other things, are luxury beauty staples being rebranded with sleek packaging and emptied of cultural context. Now, aside from the cultural appropriation, what I find...
Which I couldn't care less about, to be clear.
No. I find that sentiment really interesting because then a couple of hours later, I saw an article from the Herald Sun or the ABC talking about beef tallow.
Ah, yes.
So beef tallow is making a resurgence. Mm-hmm. It's not a new thing. Mm-hmm. Beef tallow, for those who don't know, is beef fat.
Yep.
And using beef tallow as moisturizer. Now, I've got a friend who makes tallow and has been blending it with aloe vera and all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I've used it and it's great as a moisturizer. But now, when it's made it into the mainstream and people are already using it and have been using it, to be clear, for centuries, the way mainstream media is speaking about it is like disparaging, almost like, oh my God, like disgusting.
Yeah. So I had someone send me some samples of beef tallow they make because they're hoping that I will sell them, and it's one of the ways that people can support me is, hey, put this stuff on your face.
Yeah.
And I'm open to it. I mean, I'm looking for advertisers. I'm trying to pay bills here, so I'm certainly open to it. But I'm not going to promote anything that I don't use and that I'm not happy with. So I have tried to use it a few times, and I've put it on my face. I don't understand what the fuss is all about.
Okay.
No.
So the thing with beef tallow, if you're an oily person, you don't need it. It's very greasy.
Well, then I probably don't need it.
It's great. So some people get dry elbows, cracked heels. Great for that sort of stuff. Great for people who have like dry skin. I don't think you are a dry skin person.
No.
Yeah.
I have the opposite problem.
Yeah. So look, it's like everything. It's not all designed to work. It's like putting an egg in your hair. If you want to have shiny hair.
Putting egg in?
Yeah. Like a raw egg through your hair. And all the protein.
Are you winding me up right now?
No, I'm not. These are things these are old beauty hacks. These are things that people have done for centuries.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
Butt nuggets in the hair. Okay.
Butt nuggets in the hair. It's a bit like getting a man to eat pineapple.
Yeah.
Like these are old wives' tales, whether or not they might work or don't work. But now people are like reinventing these things. They're not reinvented, but it's got.
Well, they're remarketing,
Yeah.
repackaging, remarketing.
But I just find it so interesting the way that either legacy media or mainstream media, whatever you want to call it, is now like seeing things like the carnivore diet, which is predominantly how we all lived for a long time. Is now seen as radical, extreme behavior. Using beef tallow is extremist. And the next one is you would have seen all this around sunscreen. Now, I've known this for years. Now, I am a burner. I go in the sun and my body's just like, I'm Scandinavian. We're not made for that. But I can't go outside without wearing sunscreen. But I am very protective of what sunscreen I use. And this all started popping up around the COVID era as well. A lot of people were saying no to chemicals, no to aluminium in deodorant, no to all the chemicals that go on your face. And then, of course, when the jab came out, people were like, oh, well, you'll get Botox, but you won't get the jab. That whole rhetoric.
Well, I've never had Botox, so shut up.
Yeah. With sunscreen, I'm really, conscious because your skin is the biggest organ in your body. So it goes straight into your bloodstream. And I remember putting up a post, this is around 2021, 2022, of finding a sunscreen that I was like, hey, this is helping me not get burnt to a crisp, but it's not full of chemicals. And I remember Clem Ford found it and she ran with it and just, did what she did. Fast forward to 5 years later, there was an article in Legacy Media about how leading sunscreens are full of carcinogens.
Yes.
And they're having to be recalled. And do you know what name was at the top of the list?
That one?
The Cancer Council of Australia.
Yes, yeah.
Sorry, let me say that again. The Cancer Council of Australia's sunscreen has known cancer-causing agents in it.
Yep. So I've talked about this for a couple of years, that avoiding the vast majority of sunscreens is very salubrious.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Oh yeah.
I'd already forgotten.
I won that one.
Yeah,
I win this
great.
round. This round is mine.
2-3. Well done. I totally had forgotten the word. What was it?
Salubrious.
Salubrious.
It's beneficial to your health.
Obstrepulous.
No,
we got in trouble. It's obstrepulous.
Is it?
Yeah, like strepsils, not streep.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
So, yeah. So, and then what was it?
Obstreperous.
Obstreperous?
No, I don't think it is obstreperous. I think it's obstreperous. Anyway.
I keep putting an L in there.
Yes.
So clearly we're not meant to use that word.
No,
I can't
clearly
pronounce
not.
it.
However, salubrious. Thank you very much. Ring the bell. I win this round.
See, if I had my little doot, I could program the sound.
That was the worst winning horn ever.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, thanks.
Excellent. But yeah, no, sunscreen, bad. So just suggestion out there, if you guys happen to know something, because I do burn and no amount of working up my skin is working.
So I have a confession to make that since you educated me last week, and that is not a sentence I use very often, but since you taught me something last week, that in fact tanning solarium things are not illegal for personal use. I just thought it was just like out altogether.
No.
My Google search history might now involve some
Do you know what? I said this to G, like when we moved to Queensland, I am absolutely going to become the cold plunge sauna girl.
Oh, yeah.
I love saunas.
Yeah.
And I quite like a cold plunge, not every day. And you know what? Let's just throw a solarium in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, honestly, like you'd start off with like 30 seconds at a time, but I reckon you would be able to work your way up towards.
Oh, look, I know I can because I think I told that story when I was in Egypt.
Yeah.
Because I was outside so often, I did start to get a tan.
Yeah.
And I was mindful of it. But I don't know if that's got something to do with the sun's a bit different there or I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's the same sun.
Well, it's the same sun, but no, we didn't have the ozone layer down here.
Yeah.
Or is that back?
So they
is
say.
it back?
I don't know.
Breaking news.
What are we breaking?
A massive earthquake has led to a tsunami in Russia.
Oh, dear. That's never good.
Hawaii is now on high alert. So this came out 15 minutes ago.
Okay, well, if it's Russia and Hawaii, then Japan's right in the middle of those two. So
so I did just see this. Tsunami is now trending. Let's have a look. Breaking news. This is not good.
Dear.
It was a massive earthquake. I think it was like, what does it say? It was like 8.7 magnitude. I just read it.
So that's a pretty serious one.
So tsunami warming for North Africa, West Coast.
Is that an animated map that's propagating, showing where the tsunamis will hit? Yeah. Okay. So Alaska, the Pacific coast of Canada, the Pacific coast of the US, and Russia. I can't quite see Japan from where I am on that.
Japan's
map.
here.
Oh, is that all?
Japan's here.
Okay, that map must be really distorted. I thought Japan would be quite a lot higher than that.
No, Japan's just there. I'm just trying to...
Okay,
I'll
take your word for it. I couldn't see it. Oh, goodness.
Oh, no. Not good.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Not to just change the mood. Oh, yeah, there you go. 8.7 off Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible. Speaking of kids and education.
As we were before we talked about a natural disaster.
Well, it's got something to do with this. So, you know the Japanese earthquake and tsunami in 2011, the Fukushima one.
Yeah.
We've now got to a point where people are so uneducated and also skeptical that people think, you know that footage that we see, there's a woman that's going past on a bike and you start to see the ocean coming in. It's very famous footage.
Yeah.
The comment section was full of people saying this is AI, this is propaganda. Wow. I'm like, this is what's happening to people.
Yeah.
So,
well, this is, and we're into an age where just the existence of AI will cause doubt on absolutely everything.
I do appreciate this comment. Did they find out a way to blame Donald Trump for the earthquake yet?
Yeah. I mean, okay, funny, but also the tsunami hasn't even reached a lot of shores yet.
Actually, Donald Trump has just issued a statement. Due to a massive earthquake that occurred on the Pacific Ocean, a tsunami warning is in effect for those living in Hawaii. A tsunami watch is in effect for Alaska and the Pacific coast of the United States. Japan is also in the way.
Yeah.
Not good.
No, not good. These things never are.
Speaking of AI, we've got 20 minutes. So I made a video yesterday. I'm doing little videos like you, but I'm doing them on Instagram and people are really liking them.
Yeah.
But 3 minutes is really hard to like condense everything down. What you want to say.
Well, that's one of the metaphors, one of the attributions to not Oscar Wilde, to the author that I mentioned earlier, whose name now escapes me. Oh gosh.
Twain.
Yes. Say that again.
Twain or Tesla?
Mark Twain. Thank you. My brain just had a massive outage for a second there.
It's all right. I know what that feels like.
One of the misquotes to Mark Twain is, I apologize for writing such a long letter. I didn't have time to write a short one. Which is actually true.
Yeah.
When you actually do the work to try and condense down what you're trying to say to a shorter amount of time, it's a lot of work.
Do you mind if I play the video?
If we must.
I feel like this is worth discussing.
If it gets me closer to the end of this podcast where I can finally get out of this room and be on my way, then fine.
No, you're not, because I'm going to take photos of you.
Oh, true. Yeah.
All right. Oh, hang on.
Then I'll have to pay for yet another replacement lens.
Yeah. Okay, hang on. Ready? AI models are flooding the fashion industry and consumers are rejecting it. So why are brands doing this? Let's talk about it. There's a lot to go through, so let's start with Australian label Atois, who's come under fire for using an AI-generated model for their e-commerce imagery. These images appeared on the Iconic and the brand's website with a very small disclaimer written in the product description. Before we get to the model, we need to address this terrible photoshopping, particularly around the hair. If you're selling $700 dresses, you better pay attention to those details because it's reflective of the attention to detail you put into your brand. This is also also not the first time that Atois has used AI models. They did so in their Occasion 25 campaign last year. And naturally, people went to social media to voice their concerns. When asked about it, Atois framed it as innovation and efficiency, which helped them to speed up the product to market cycles and cut shoot costs, whilst also expanding size representation using small and large virtual models. Really? Don't make me read out the definition of gaslighting. And now, across the Pacific, US Vogue has published a campaign from Guess featuring, you guessed it, AI models. Now let's spare us all the PR spin around innovation. This has everything to do with cost cutting. Firstly, I am biased. I'm doing my master's on AI and I think it has its place and it can be a really good tool. But like all tools, it really depends on whose hand it's in. Much like masters with their brush strokes, you can give a paintbrush to a novice, there's nowhere they're painting the Sistine Chapel. And this isn't about me being a Luddite. I'm an early adopter, I'm also a photographer, and I embraced AI years ago. We're currently in the wild, wild west phase of AI where everyone's having a go and there's no rule. But the one core thing that remains the same is humans need connection. We are emotional creatures and we need to feel that connection to be able to value something. Brands can spin this any way they want, but the reality is consumers aren't buying this. We are drowning in soulless, superficial content. What we really crave is connection. The biggest problem that AI is going to face is that it's never going to generate nostalgia because we are consuming this content at record speed without the time to digest it and memorize it. There's a reason that songs endure for decades and they still bring us back to a special moment because some human somewhere invested their time creating it and crafting that because it was drawn on their own inspiration from a moment that they felt. AI cannot replace that. AI can't replace vision or taste. That's the role of a true creative, to tell that story. There's a reason we go to art galleries to stare at Van Goghs and why you can retain the lyrics to a song you heard 20 years ago, because they make you feel something. AI can't replace that. And so maybe it's time we start to look at our creatives and realize just how big a role they play in shaping our world. I think this is a very big wake-up call to show that we've never really valued our creatives. They're the ones who tell our stories and keepsake our memories, and without them, we're lost. So whilst I don't begrudge brands for embracing AI, and I certainly use it myself, I think it's important that we reflect on the fact that AI can't store or create our memories. And if we're no longer creating, what can AI learn? So whilst brands might think they're cutting costs by embracing AI, they might be cutting something else, the very connection they have to their customer.
Yeah, so there are brands that thrive because they do things the easy way, the cheap way, and they hit the mass market. And then there are brands that thrive because they do things the hard way. And their customer base tends to be very loyal. They see value. They're willing to pay more for that thing, whether it's for the provenance of a given item. You know, a replica of a classic car is never worth as much as a classic car because we want the story, we want the provenance, we want the history that goes into that. This is part of that dividing that we were talking about. You know, that cheap disposable fashion where no one really cares. Like me buying black t-shirts, do I care whether or not it was put onto an AI model? No, I don't.
Yeah.
I just want the cheap price, and therefore the company putting it onto an AI model is probably going to be more at my price point than the one that's putting it on to Brad Pitt. However, there is always going to be demand, and I think actually as this world divides, there's going to be increased demand for the companies that choose to do things the hard way and say, actually, no, this is true, this is real. We're going to point a camera at a real person who's wearing a real piece of clothing rather than resort to the easy.
It's really interesting because I knew there'd be backlash to a degree, but I didn't expect it to be so violent.
I'll agree with you there. I'm really pleased, actually.
Yeah, like in a good way. Like obviously I'm deep down this rabbit hole, but I've been reading Reddit of all places, and we know what Reddit's like.
Talk about rabbit holes.
Yeah, and interestingly, I'm finding it really hard to find people who want this content, who are thinking it's a good thing. Now the brands obviously are coming out and defending themselves and saying this is innovation. We're working with digital artists.
There's a caution that goes off in my brain, though. I remember working with Dick Smith. This is why I met with him, and you know, he flew me in his helicopter and all the rest of it. We were talking about doing some projects together, and then ultimately all that went by the by. And the thing we ended up almost doing, but not quite, he wanted me to do videos reviewing his Dick Smith foods, the Australian-made foods, the peanut butters and the jams and all that stuff. And he was giving people what they said they wanted. What they said they wanted was more Australian produce. The reality of their behavior in the supermarket was they wanted the thing that had the lowest price.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of people willing to jump on social media where it's free to say, no, I don't like AI, blah, blah, blah. But when they're in the shop and there's the T-shirt that's you know, $5 cheaper because they didn't spend the money on the full priced everything, they're going to reach for the cheapest shirt. That's actually going to be the retail behavior.
There's definitely that element, and I think those people who are price shoppers will always exist. But there's a lot of people, particularly young women, Gen Z, who are ideologically charged.
Yeah.
And all they care about is the latest trend. I'll give you an example. Last year there was a brand, I think it's called Sabi or something like that. And there's this woman on TikTok. Her name's Kate Forster. She lives in Brighton and she's an older woman and she's quite overweight. And she makes these sort of clickbaity TikToks and Instagram videos calling out brands for their bad fashion. And, you know, and to be fair, I've found her quite funny at times because she'll basically like, this is disgusting, this is boring, who's wearing this? And I can get on with that sentiment to a degree.
Sure.
But then one day she decided to attack this brand because she found the founders' personal Instagrams and then in their personal follow lists realised that one of the brand owners followed Donald Trump. So she made it her mission to make a TikTok or whatever about this. And basically threw this brand, there was nothing about them. No one was talking about them, but threw this brand under the bus. And the reason I bring this up is they're not overly expensive. They're quite affordable.
Yeah.
But you now have a generation who will boycott this brand based on the fact he just follows Donald Trump. And then, of course...
Is that actually true, though, that there are really people boycotting it in large numbers?
Well, I don't know if it's affected the brand, but it made... Like, this story happened in December last year. But, of course, our mate Abby Chatfield felt the need to speak on it as well.
Sure.
And, you know, again, she has a platform of 1 million people. Her sentiment was the fact that these people are willing to associate with this.
Guilty by association.
And she made a comment that they can't help who's buying the brand, but you can make sure that the brand dies if you don't purchase it. Like that's the sentiment.
But again, boycotts only work if you used to purchase it.
Yeah.
So that's a risk. If that brand was very appealing to lefties, to wokies, to people with mental health issues, then, sorry, but I repeat myself, then that would hurt them. But if they actually were a brand that already appealed to people who were mentally well adjusted and had purpose and a sense of belonging in life, then probably they wouldn't miss.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the brand. I just find it interesting. But broader than that, not just about people purchasing, the general sentiment seems to be that people don't want AI content. They just don't.
Yeah.
And I would argue that maybe, I know Netflix came out last week admitting that they're using AI footage now or generated scenes. Yeah. But I would say the last 5-6 years, we've had what looks like AI versions of Hollywood movies and music because people just want to push things out to market quicker than they can.
Yeah, the entertainment industry now is basically a belt-fed shotgun. Just throw enough lead and something will hit the target. What's really interesting to me is AI, again, as a tool in the hand of an artist, AI augmented special effects, AI augmented set extensions, that kind of thing. Yeah. Fantastic. I mean, that could really dramatically cut the cost of production. Yeah. It could take films that right now are out of the reach of art house film producers, they can't get the budget, could actually bring that into their budget and make things possible.
It's democratizing creativity to it.
But the point you've made all the way through is that it doesn't replace the artist.
Yes.
And I think what's really heartening is that it appears that the public agrees with you.
Yeah. That's what I was shocked by, like genuinely shocked. There's always going to be the people that want to buy from Temu and Shein.
Yep.
And that's fine.
Yep.
And there's a time and a place for that stuff. But what I'm interested in is we've talked about this shift towards, the females wanting to be back in the home.
Yep.
I am definitely seeing this shift of people wanting to be connected to something again. Yeah. And if you're a brand or a business and you jump on this now, you'll ride this wave. What I see, for example, I'm biased, I'm a creative, but if you had a brand that's focusing on real people in Australia, in real Australian locations, and you make it look beautiful like they are in Europe and they're in the Greek islands, whatever, people are going to get behind that. Yep. Oh, I've been there. That's beautiful.
Have you seen, I really regret not grabbing the link. Have you seen, someone did an obviously AI video of visiting Australia in like 2050 or 2070.
I've seen it, yep.
And there is just rubbish and crap everywhere, and it's like Middle Eastern markets on the beach, on Bondi Beach. And
I'll find it.
Tent cities underneath the Sydney Opera House. Just get a load of this. And sorry, before we play it, just actually stop and think, if 10 years ago you saw this video, is there anything in it that you would stop and question and go, hang on, that's not real?
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you go through it forensically, there are a few things that do jump out.
Oh, of course, if you look closely.
But 10 years ago, you would never have spotted those things.
Yeah.
We would never have thought that this was anything but real.
AI is getting really good. And I won't even go into the beauty standards things, but it's really interesting when we're looking at these humans. I'm arguing that, I make a comment in my thesis that my lecturer was just like, Carly, I'll never forget you saying this. where babies won't be able to recognize their own genetics in their mothers because the mothers have had so much cosmetic surgery.
Yeah.
And, a big part of a child and a mother forming that bond is, looking at the
staring
face.
at each other's face. Well, there was a lawsuit in China where a guy sued his wife because they started having kids and they were mingers. They were pretty ugly kids.
Yeah.
And he found out through all of this, that his wife had had extensive plastic surgery before he ever met her. And he sued her for false advertising.
Yeah.
I don't know what the outcome of the court case was, but he sued her for false advertising.
That is...
because she promised him good-looking kids and she gave him mingers.
That is a fair thing. Like...
Well, I mean, it's
I get
a bit harsh on the one hand, but
it's harsh. But at the same time, like it's really hard because as I'm writing my thesis, I actually don't know what side I'm on.
Sorry, I'm grinning like an idiot because the story is just so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Suing your wife because you had ugly kids. I'm sorry.
To be fair, I reckon he's probably got there's probably some precedent there.
I should actually look up and try and find out what happened in the court case.
But it's actually really hard writing this thesis because I do use AI, and I think AI has definitely got some great things to it.
Yeah.
But then there's another part of me that laments that we're down this road. So it's sort of like...
Well, there's a loss of innocence, but that's always the way.
Yeah.
There are people who looked at the steam engine and lamented the age when it was simple and it was just cottage industry and what have you. But the steam engine enabled people to live better lives and to be more productive. And we've talked about that before. What I'm going to be really interested to watch, though, there's going to be a fascinating crossover. So people at our age who were established on the internet as real human beings before AI... we can be trusted in the sense that people know that we exist.
Yes.
Any individual video might be suspect, but the existence of a Topher field, the existence of a Carlz Soderstrom is beyond question.
Yeah.
Right? Fast forward 20 years and young influencers and younger people, actually it won't be a given that we can be sure that they even exist. I mean, there are already models and so forth being passed off as real and they're fake.
Yeah.
Now, usually they acknowledge sooner or later that they're fake, but why?
Yeah.
What stops someone from actually just creating an entirely fictitious person and never acknowledging that?
Well, it always starts with porn because that's humans, but this is now a prolific issue in the porn industry.
Yeah.
I told you, I've read some shit.
Yeah.
Because now you've got AI-generated porn.
Yeah.
And the issue with AI-generated porn is there is literally
there's no limit.
There's no limit.
And what we're going to get to, so are you familiar with the concept of the uncanny valley?
Yes.
You're right. So when something looks almost human but isn't, our brains rebel.
Yeah.
It really rebels against it. And for a while there, animation, as it was getting realistic, it entered the uncanny valley.
Yeah.
It was trying to no longer look like animation, but it didn't quite look proper and real, and it just is horrible. It's just this awful thing to look at. And then it crosses into a level where, one, our brains get trained a little bit to accept it, but also it gets better and we start to go, okay, we can accept that this actually looks real now. And I watched a wonderful movie just the other day, Sea Monsters, I think it was called. I'll try and find out what it's called. This beautiful animated film following the story of a young girl who smuggles her way onto a sailing ship that its job is to hunt sea beasts. Might have been called Sea Beasts. And there are moments in that animation, and it's not trying to be photorealistic, but there are moments where the animation is just so beautiful that you actually forget that you're watching an animation. I really appreciate the art in that, the quality of that work. But there is something in us psychologically that rebels when something is trying to look human and failing. But what I think we're going to get to is actually we're going to end up training our brains to rebel when something is too perfect.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be one of the key ways, for a time at least, until obviously it's going to be a game of cat and mouse with the algorithms. For a time, I mean, at the moment, there's a certain look that an AI-generated picture has. There's a certain way that it defocuses. There's a certain facial structure that it's most likely to use. You can kind of still spot them.
Yeah.
But that's going to get harder and harder as time goes by. And I think the last thing that the AI is going to let go of is excessive perfection. That's going to be the last thing to disappear out of AI, and then you won't be able to tell the difference.
Well, what I've realized in my research is AI isn't trained on our imperfections. That's the issue.
Yeah.
So you think about all the selfies that people put up.
Yeah.
Most of them have been edited.
Yep.
So they've taken out the freckles, the moles, the dimples, whatever, all those little genetic quirks. So AI doesn't actually see a lot of that. So unless someone's uploading the hack from T and putting all those faces into it.
Oh, my goodness. Actually, that is so interesting to actually see what AI generates before and after such sort of big dumps of...
I'm training a model at the moment. So I'm building a model for my master's where I'm feeding it what I want to feed it.
Yep.
And then I'm building a second model where I'm feeding it normal stuff.
Yeah.
So to see if I can manipulate the beauty standards and see what AI does. It's a hard thing to do, but it comes down to how much data it has to look at.
Work on,
And the interesting thing is you can train an AI model on your face, but there's a cap at 50 images.
Right.
So it says you need at least 5 as a data set.
Sure.
But if you give it 5, it's going to give you some really funky photos of yourself. If you give it 50, but you don't give it enough, like, so in those 50 photos that
There's
you
not
upload of
enough
yourself.
dynamic range.
Yeah, but you're not changing your face. You get some really weird things, or it's always the same facial expression when it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So imagine if you had 1,000 photos of yourself and you uploaded it to this data model.
Yeah.
You could make a fake you.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's scary.
But we already are. That's already possible. But I guess what I'm going to be watching with interest is as this time horizon approaches where people like you and I, our existence is unquestionable. What happens when someone appears and is an up-and-comer as a young person in 15 years?
Yeah.
Like, no one's going to be able to actually be sure, unless you've really met that person in real life.
Yeah.
We will no longer be able to be sure that that's real. And I wonder whether that's actually going to become a competitive advantage for people like you and I that kind of got grandfathered in. We got in before that event horizon. I don't even know what to call it.
Well, if you look at what they're expecting to happen, it will get to a point where people just want to live with their VR headset on. So Gary Vaynerchuk, some. This
is that splitting that we talk about.
Yes, Gary Vaynerchuk, you know who he is?
Yeah.
He came out saying that within 5 to 10 years, handheld devices like iPhones will be gone. Everything will be visual, so like via some glasses, and ultimately will be a chip in your brain.
Yeah.
Now, the glasses thing is interesting because there's already Meta glasses. You can wear Snapchat glasses, and I would argue that you wear them for 5 minutes and they become a novelty because you want to get them off your face.
Yeah.
I can't really, and look, maybe this is me being a Luddite, I don't know. I can't really see a use case where people will no longer have their iPhones and will wear it on their face permanently.
The biggest barrier to that world where your glasses are just constantly, they're reading your thoughts, they're researching the information that you want, The biggest barrier to that is developing the filter. Because we all have filters. We think a lot of things that we don't say.
Yes.
We are constantly self-censoring in ways that are healthy, right?
Yeah.
For social acceptance and because we've all got weird shit going on in the back of our brains,
Do we?
right? Yeah,
Do you have weird shit going on in the back of our brains?
Oh, no, never. But all of a sudden, if you've got a chip, then and it's unrestrained.
Yeah.
What's it going to bring up? Because it's just going to run with the thing that flitted through your brain for a split second.
All those impure thoughts.
Everything. The whole dynamic range of what goes on inside a brain every second.
Well, do you know what's interesting? I was reading a study last night and it was about there were MRI or like brain scans of people using ChatGPT and not using it.
Yeah.
And showing the neural activity.
Yeah,
and interestingly, and it's a pretty extensive study, and this is over a year, and they've got the people who have been using ChatGPT prolifically, like for everything, like how to answer an email, how to write a message, whatever.
Yeah.
Then they've got people who use it intermittently, and then people who have not used it.
Yeah.
And what it's actually doing is eroding neural pathways and actually making you dumber. Like we're seeing it happen in real time.
Yeah.
And you know this because, and I've recognized this in myself, there'll be times when I've dumped some stuff, like let's say, for example, one of my articles is like 60 pages and I don't have time to read it.
Yeah.
I'll chuck it into ChatGPT and it spins out some stuff to me. Yeah. And I'll read that. I can't actually retain anything because I haven't physically worked my way through it.
Yep.
And there's been times where I literally just did it 2 seconds ago and it's gone out of my shirt. There's no way, it didn't even make it through. And what they're saying now with ChatGPT, and obviously there's a lot of things that they use common phrases and the sentence structures are very banal.
Yeah.
But now it's getting to a point where people can't communicate if they've been using it for a prolonged period of time because they're actually reconfiguring their brain.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. So the human body is designed to work. Work is salubrious. Do I get bonus points for using it more than once?
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
Because I still forgot what it was. So.
So the human body repairs and puts resources into the thing you use. That's why your bones get stronger as a result of walking. It's because they're getting flexed that little bit of heel strike impact is telling the body, hey, you need to put some resources into those bones. That's why your muscles get stronger after a workout. Your brain is incredibly plastic. It is incredibly adaptive. And if you work it, it will get stronger. If you let it rot, it will rot.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these productivity tools, the downside is that we're not actually making our brains work. The idea of a gym, a place where the common person will go in order to build bigger muscles and lose fat, is a foreign concept to anyone more than 150 years ago.
Yeah.
Gyms were for athletes and for soldiers, and that was it. And now we've managed to get so much work out of our lives, physical activity out of our lives, that now we have to add it in artificially.
Yeah.
And I wonder, what is that brain activity going to be? What is the brain's version of the gym going to be? As people take a lot of the mental load and a lot of the mental work out of productivity, we can now be productive without mental effort, because AI is doing a lot of that for us. What's going to be the gym for the brain?
Am I wildly optimistic or terribly ignorant for even suggesting and thinking that I believe there'll be a rebellion to this mass adaptation of AI? I think it'll be there in some aspects, but as far as like our entertainment, our music, our creative outputs, our connection to each other, I'm seeing that people genuinely don't like it. And Gen Alpha, so your kids' age, they also are sort of rebuking a lot of internet stuff.
Yeah.
They don't want social media, for example.
So I'm of the view, and I've been saying this literally for years, those of you that have been that are listening, that have been to events that I've spoken at in the last 5 years, I talk a lot about community and the need for real human, person-to-person, in-person, face-to-face connection. And the fact that as parts of the world dive down this rabbit hole of living entirely online, entirely in AI-generated artificial communities, the metaverse finally coming to life. Some people will love it, but I think they'll actually be a relatively small minority.
Yeah.
A lot of people will dabble in it, get it hooked on the dopamine, etc., and then, like a drug, they'll realize they need to come off it.
Yeah.
But there's going to be all of the symptoms of addiction, all of the letdown, all of that. And they're going to come looking for the antithesis of that. They're going to come looking for real face-to-face human connection. And because you won't be able to trust anything online by then. You won't, a Zoom call, how do I really know that that's you? Online authentication, it's probably going to be done through the blockchain, and that's a problem that I think we're going to solve. But just watching a random video online, I can't be sure that that's real.
Yeah.
Having a Zoom call with someone in real time, even though they're answering me, I actually still can't be sure that that's you unless you've been authenticated in some genuine way. And so they're going to come looking for physical rooms that they can walk into, or physical fires that they can stand around and actually have face-to-face community and communion with somebody. So I'm of the view that a little bit like the resurgence in knitting, a little bit like the resurgence in making sourdough and preserving foods and growing heirloom seeds, etc., I think that the AI revolution is going to create its own counterculture. And that counterculture isn't necessarily going to reject AI and not use it in any way, shape or form. They're not going to be the Mennonites or the Amish, but I do think that they're going to use it as a productivity tool only.
Yeah.
And reject entertainment and reject fake community that is AI generated.
I think we're going to learn boundaries again. I think I'm already seeing that. I've got so many different friends who are all sort of embracing some older considered hobbies, you know, knitting, you know, gardening, whatever. And it's usually come out, they're calling it the millennial crisis.
Yeah.
So millennials are doing what they witnessed their parents doing when they were kids. And I recognize this in myself. My mum was a crazy plant lady. And then you look around my house, you're like,
I see what's going on here.
Even something like, you know, I say I like cooking for G all the time. Last night, I forgot to take the chicken out of the fridge in the morning, the freezer, sorry. So I went to Woolies last night and I said, you know, what do you want for dinner? He's like, chicken Kiev. I was like, all right, I'll go get some chicken Kiev. Now, silly me, I didn't pay attention. I thought if it said chicken Kiev, it was chicken Kiev.
Oh.
Didn't know this.
Yeah.
There is also a cheese and ham chicken Kiev.
Oh, okay.
Which is, isn't that cordon bleu? Something?
I don't know.
Anyway, so I misread the fine print and bought us this chicken Kiev-y thing that wasn't chicken Kiev. Anyway, I put it in the air fryer. I'm cooking dinner. Everything else I cook from scratch. Great, yum. But this chicken Kiev, chucked it in the air fryer, and it already looks a bit odd. Looked like a bit of a roll. I was like, whatever. Anyway, we sit down, cut it open, and I'm like, where's the garlic? Anyway, I checked the packaging, realized I bought the wrong thing. The chicken tasted weird. It was processed. And even though I bought it like fresh, it was processed. And I was like, fuck, we're so used to eating really good that when we eat something processed, it throws me out. I'm like, oh. Like, so, this leftovers went straight in the bin. I think that's what's happening. A lot of people are disconnecting because we went down this road of Uber Eats and blah, 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 blah. Now people are like, actually, I just want to do that. I just want a home-cooked meal. Yeah. I just want meat and 3 veg.
What's really interesting is Uber and the fact that we've got so many cafes and restaurants that are at our fingertips, etc. It essentially means that we've all got a private chef now.
Yeah.
So only the rich have a private chef. No. We've all got private chefs now. We just choose when we hire them and when we don't. And actually, we've got 100 to choose from. And we've got a few favourites that we'll deal with every now and again. And because we're not that rich, we can only hire them every once in a while.
Yeah.
But the fact is, we've all got private chefs at our fingertips if we're just willing to pay their price for their product. And that's true in so many ways. We've all got a typist at our fingertips now because our phone will just take our dictation.
Yep.
Some of us with cars, etc., have chauffeurs at our fingertips. Not so much in Australia because the regulations in the way of that, but increasingly, it used to be like go back to the 1950s, and when someone bought a washing machine, a clothes washing machine, they invited their friends around for a dinner party and they all had dinner and drinks and everyone got to look and ooh and ah over the new washing machine. And when I say new washing machine, for younger ones amongst you, I don't mean a new one to replace the old one. I mean they went from not having a washing machine at all and washing their clothing on a washboard, which was a lumpy thing, and scraping the clothes up and down underwater and soap suds and everything else. Keeping your clothes clean and showing up to church on a Sunday in your Sunday best was a chore that took hours and hours, tens of hours out of generally a mother's week every single week. So getting that washing machine. Only the rich used to have other people wash their clothes. Now everyone has someone else wash their clothes.
Yeah.
It's called the washing machine.
Yeah.
Now we have someone else dry it. And by the way, someone else washes our dishes for us. And even if you can't afford to buy freshly made food from the local shop, you can go to the supermarket and buy ready-made meals. Okay, we have staff all around us. We live these incredibly luxurious lives filled with machines and things that do jobs for us. The difference now with AI is that it is purporting to be more than just a machine that will do jobs for us. So when we talk about AI and its usefulness, we're talking about how it can do jobs for us.
Yeah.
We're using AI in the same way you use a washing machine.
Yeah.
I have dirty clothes. I want clean clothes. I could sit there and scrub them myself, or I can put them in the washing machine. That's what we mean. The people that are going to go down deep into this rabbit hole, the AI world is an entire universe to them. It doesn't fulfill a function in the real world. It is an end in and of itself. And that's going to be the divide. The people that dive in there because AI is its own universe, its own end unto itself, versus the people who recognize that AI is incredibly powerful. It's a time-saving tool. It's a productivity tool that you can use to generate better outcomes in the real world. And that's the divide.
I think what you'll see there as well, there's people who, I think we're already seeing it, who don't want to make any effort. They don't want to be employed. They don't want to have, like those 2 girls I showed you on Monday, right? There's a lot of that. Yeah. And there's a lot of that being programmed into younger women especially. Like, I don't want to have to do anything. I'm an independent woman, but at the same time, I don't want to have to be.
I'm also a complete victim and can do nothing for myself.
And so for these people and, your Abby Chatfields, the TikTok world, and I don't have TikTok, that has become, that's their new reality.
Yeah.
They wake up, TikTok's the first thing they do.
Yep.
So the moments that they spend in the real world are far fewer than the moments they spend on TikTok.
Yeah.
And in there, they've got their friendship groups, their community groups, their little bits of niche that they're attached to.
Yeah.
And so the problem with those guys is they spend so much time in that online space that when they come out here and they have to be who they really are, it's horrible and it's confronting and they don't like it and they feel marginalized and bullied and victimed.
Because out here it takes work.
So they go back and escape to TikTok. I think that generation, and this sounds really horrible, but I think Gen Z will be the ones that get pulled into this AI, not all, but many, because they get to be someone else without the effort. So you can go into, it's like a simulation. Oh, I'm going to be skinny, beautiful, blonde, blue-eyed, look like Sydney Sweeney, go into this and I can be hot and bitchy and no one will hold me accountable because my character is this, that, the other.
But look at what happened with Sims.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, people really did use that. I liken it to gambling. Life could be a dream if George would smile at me. If you could win lotto, what your life would be like. People went into Sims to create their lotto winning life.
Yeah.
And they found that even though they knew they were playing a game and the graphics are terrible and it's really clunky in so many ways, they got hooked on the dopamine of achievement inside The Sims. But notice how the vast majority of us didn't do that.
Yeah.
Right? It's a particular kind of psychology that does that. And it's going to be exactly the same with AI. Some people are going to dive into that simulated world and they're going to soak up the dopamine that comes with false accomplishment. The same kind of people that spend their entire teenage years just on computer games trying to rack up more points and more wins and more whatever. Playing Fortnite, playing Counter-Strike Go if you're more my vintage. But that's only a percentage of people. Yeah. Right? Out there at the same time, there's other people getting trades and there's other people training for sports and there's other people doing
Well, this is the thing. There's so many pockets of opportunities now. Like if everyone's zigging, go and zag and then watch yourself flourish. Correct.
So kids these days who are raised to be competent in the real world and to be willing to delay gratification, to live, to what's the expression that Jimmy Carr uses? To prefer later, to prioritize later. Yeah. Right? Kids that are raised to prioritize later are going to effectively have a superpower.
Yeah.
Right?
I think so too.
Yeah.
And knowing these basic skills that we've outsourced for so long, like even during COVID when you couldn't do certain things, there was a lot of people who couldn't do the basics. Yeah. And they were really put out.
Yeah, and they just suddenly discovered they couldn't do the basics. Yeah.
There's a lot of people that learned how to do woodworking for the first time in COVID because they couldn't hire someone to do it.
I learned how to do a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
Yeah, sat there and watched YouTube videos.
Yeah. Can we watch these dystopian videos?
Which ones? Oh, those ones. All right. But let's make this the last thing.
All right.
Because we've gone over 3 hours. I desperately need the loo. And
Same.
I can't get in the car and drive home until you've taken photographs.
Correct. Do we want to watch the Australian one or do we want to watch what happens in the UK?
Okay, let's look at the UK.
Let's go Buckingham Palace.
Excuse me.
I'm going to turn the sound off so we don't
we don't get copyright strikes. Oh my! Wow. Suddenly my gut is going crazy. Sorry if you heard that. Yeah, doesn't feel as dynamic as the Melbourne one. The Melbourne one was much more.
It hit home a bit more.
Well, but also like he was walking through and the camera was panning and it was.
Let's do the Melbourne one then. Where is it? Sydney.
Oh, Sydney one. Sorry, not the Melbourne one. Yeah.
The iconic Sydney Opera House forecourt, everyone. This is truly something else. Isn't it amazing? Here we are at Darling Harbour Waterfront. What a mashup of modern views and ancient tradition. It's like a cultural crossover episode you never knew you needed. Check this out. The Rocks is looking wild with spice, history and tradition all mashed together.
He's done really well. The architecture is correct.
Welcome to Bondi Beach Promenade. Never seen anything like this at sunset. I mean, who needs surfboards when you've got a camel checkout? Well, this is quite the scene here at the Harbour Bridge, a real blend of cultures. These folks are in prayer, and the animals are just part of it.
Do you know what really gets me is the rubbish, because I've travelled enough to know that's exactly what it looks like.
That's exactly what it's like.
That's what actually makes me really sad.
And this is wealth makes people much more concerned about the environment and their living conditions and all of that. If you care about the environment, help people to get wealthy, and they will care more about where rubbish goes, where sewage goes, whether or not a particular species is dying out.
I'm getting really, we'll end on this because I also need to go to the bathroom. But so the left are cheering on the mass immigration of these people who come from deeply impoverished nations where sanitary conditions are well below par, well below world average. They are one of the greatest emitters of global carbon issues.
And plastic into rivers and all sorts of stuff.
Like I brought up the Ganges on Monday. The Ganges is dead.
Yeah.
It's the holy river. So just for those who don't know this, the Ganges is so sacred that they'll do a pilgrimage from one side of India to the other just to go and bathe there. But the water is biologically dead. It's got, I think they did, E. coli was like 4 million times higher than it should be.
That's not biologically dead. That's the opposite. But yes, it's extremely hostile to health.
Yeah, no, that's what they call it. They call it biologically dead because nothing can live in it apart from E. coli, apparently.
Yeah.
But, they put their dead bodies in there. They put all their rubbish in there, all their sewage is in there, and then they go in there and bathe because it's holy. That river means more to them than anything, and look at the way they treat it.
Yeah.
So, we're importing people that's what they see. I'm not saying it's I'm not making them feel bad for it, but what I'm saying is those people are bringing that culture here.
So when I was in Guangzhou, 2016, 17, somewhere there for their trade fair, I was staying on about the 20-something floor of a high-rise apartment building, a cheap one, and the room that I had overlooked essentially what we would consider slums. They were probably fairly nice for Guangzhou sort of middle-class Chinese living, but we walked through there and it'd be 3-story high buildings, narrow winding sort of lanes through there, very busy, bustling, and there'd be an open door and you'd look through and there's rows of sewing machines and it's a sweatshop and rubbish everywhere and so forth. And what was striking as I stood there looking out over that from this high-rise building was I realised, that's a creek line there. That multicoloured thing that hadn't really thought, that's a creek line filled with rubbish.
Yes.
Then I realised there was actually a recycling depot down in front of me. I can't even say it's recycling, some sort of a rubbish depot. And there were trucks coming and dumping rubbish into this wedge of land, a decent-sized wedge of land, all day long. And no trucks ever came and picked it up.
No.
And what I realised was the workers there, their job was to throw it into the creek line, and then when there was a flood, a whole bunch would get washed down and there'd be room now for them to throw more in. That was their municipal rubbish disposal place.
I won't tell you the stories I have of China, but yeah.
Yeah.
Horrific.
And that was normalised for them. That seemed completely reasonable as a way to live.
And that's the issue. Like we value our land, and we've got the best beaches. Australia's so beautiful. They're the people that you're bringing in, and you already see this. Tell me you cannot see this when you go out to those areas, because they all kind of coalesce in one community.
You can. But this is also an issue of wealth, and we've got multiple generations now of wealth building up over time, and we care about. So we started to become relatively comfortable, globally speaking. We were comfortable 100 years ago. We were better off than most of the world before we invented consumer plastics and all the rest of it. They've had consumer plastics invented while they were poor.
Yeah,
and so we're seeing a very different dynamic play out. If you want nature to get looked after, if you want plastics to get recycled, if you want all those things to happen, help people to get wealthy. That's the answer to basically all of our problems.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen in a socialist world, is it?
Unfortunately not. And on that note, I
hope you guys feel really
really pumped up and jazzed. This may not have been a salubrious podcast.
Salubrious. Okay, he's just going to throw it out.
Yeah.
That's a tongue twister one.
Salubrious, yeah.
Salacious, salubrious.
Yeah, salubrious. So this kind of has the pronunciation. If we can find that other word, it'll kind of tell us.
Well, it did, and it said strep. No, streep.
Yeah, okay.
And then we got corrected on YouTube as strep.
Well, then the YouTube is wrong.
I don't know. But regardless what I say, I'm wrong. I'm an idiot. I'm stupid. I can't win, and you can all get fucked.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that draws to a close this therapy session. It seems that Carly has finally had the epiphany. She has come to realise what's
mentally
going
retarded.
On, and so now we will be moving on to our next mental case.
Excellent, guys. Well, on that note, stay safe.
Stay safe. What kind of a cop-out is that? No, go do something dangerous. Go do something fun.
Reading the tsunami warning, it says stay safe.
Well, okay, yes. Well, yes, if you're in Hawaii or Japan or any of those exposed coasts, then maybe stay safe.
Follow us.
Yes.
Buy our merch.
We didn't
even talk.
I'm
terrible grifters.
Look how good I am. Neither of us are actually wearing it.
I'm not actually wearing it. It's in the wash.
So the Oddcast merch is awesome. There's multiple different designs. It's all available at goodpeoplebreakbadlaws.com. You'll find my stuff there. But if you look, there's a heap of different Oddcast t-shirts and hoodies available now for
people have already logged off. No one's watching this. Well, we are terrible at this.
Look, for grifters, we really are.
Yeah, it should have been the first thing we said.
Yeah.
Hey, you've got to watch this whole podcast. You have to first listen
That's
to us.
right. Yeah, 3 hours and 9 minutes in. Oh, by the way.
All right, guys. It's in the links. It's in the bottom, in the YouTube thing. And please.
At the Oddcast HQ, at Carlz J Soda, at Topher Field. Good People Break Bad Laws is where you'll find all our stuff.
On Monday, we'll be back 7:30 live.
7:30 live.
And remember, share the show. Tell people about it.
Yep.
Get people on board.
Don't keep us a secret.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Button.